Here we go. Welcome back to the Crypt, everybody, and welcome back to a special edition of Lost in the Dark podcast. This is it. This is Aaron and I's Lost in the Dark podcast's Filthy 15 album of the year list, our top albums of the year, where we look back on our 15 favorite albums from the year. And we got a doozy. Now, last year we kind of, it was a little bit more spur of the moment. So we each chose 7 albums. Other one's yours. Middle one. Yep, there you go. So we each chose 7 albums, and then we agreed on a top spot. This year we had more time. We've been working on it all year.
Pretty much,
so we each had a full list of 15, but we had 4 overlapping. So to preface all this, we're going to go back and forth on our top 11, and then we're going to talk about the 4 we agree on. These are, except for the only one we're saying is number 1 of the year is the one in top spot. All the rest of them are in no particular order. The 15th isn't necessarily our 15th favorite. These are just our top 15, or our top 14 or whatever. In that sense. So just so you guys know, we want to just make that clear that like we're not saying this is the 15th best. That we're saying this is in our top 15.
Yeah. Mostly because, I mean, if you've been paying attention to it, you know how hard it is to narrow down with everything that's happened.
I don't like it, because I like albums, different albums for different reasons.
Right.
So it's like just too hard for me to narrow it down, be so judgmental.
Yeah. Even though that's the whole point, I guess.
But we're sitting here judging shit.
Well, I guess like the point for me, and I feel like Clint kind of said it when he was talking about, about his list and kind of holding it to that same, standard, I guess, is really like, I'm sure, I mean, between the both of us, these are ones that stuck out and that, for one reason or another, we've either, listened to more than others. For me personally, there's a lot on here that like just made me feel something like the first time through, and that feeling kind of never left.
Yep.
And like every time I go back to it, it's always kind of the same, which is awesome because that that consistency and stuff. Like you want, like for me at least when I'm listening to something the first time, and kind of if it's something new, like a lot of times it's hard to not be like hypercritical about it.
Right.
But it's like to me it's more about like what the songs are saying and like what just the overall feel of it and just like what I take from it and stuff. And
yeah, so
and some of these honestly I'm a little bit I've listened to a little bit less than others, but
Same.
It's because of how I felt about it, and it's because of how much it stuck with me the first couple of times that I heard it, that I feel like is worth having on the list and worth being a part of. So
real. So I think what we're going to start with is talk about the albums that we listened to, we loved, that didn't make the list. These albums that we're about to talk about are not on the list at all. So these, I guess, are our honorable mentions. What are yours?
Let's go one at a time, or
we won't go back and forth on these ones. Yeah, we'll just go through both of them because I only have a couple.
Yeah. So my couple are, I got Spite, Root of All Evil.
Mm-hmm.
To
Michigan?
me, yeah, or no, I think they're
a Michigan band.
I found out later that,
really?
That's a different Spite.
There's 2 Spites?
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
So where's this one from then?
I want to say they're from California.
Really? Holy shit. That's mind-blowing to me. That's absolutely mind-blowing. I did not know that.
I hope I didn't botch that, but
I thought they were from like Kalamazoo or something.
Yeah.
But if they're different, if there's a different one.
Punk band. It's a punk band from Kalamazoo. Yeah.
So yeah, that's different.
Yeah. Completely different. Let me see. But yeah, for the longest time we kind of went back and forth like damn, like I didn't realize that like Spite, the band that we're talking about, is the metal band, put out Killer Be or no.
Self-titled.
Yeah.
That last time was just Spite, I think.
So the self-titled was the first one, and then I think Killer Be Killed, the one with the white cover, was 2 years ago.
Did they release that like all together though?
What?
Didn't they release like both the first 2 albums in one because one of them was short or something? I don't know. I think that's how I bought it. Like they're both in one or something weird.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. Something weird.
Regardless, that was one that stuck with me mostly. Like it,
God, I love Snickers. Sorry.
it didn't really like stick with me quite the same way that the last two did, just because I feel like when those came out, like they were such a new band at the time, and like that sound and like that, just the aggression and stuff.
Very wild sound.
Yeah.
Very wild, untamed sound.
Yeah, they are from California, despite what we're talking about. Yep. It's called The Root of All Evil.
Couple cover.
Yeah. It took me a while to figure out that it's like a fingerprint, and then it's yeah. So
So there's that one. What's the next one? Shout out to Spite.
Let's see. Yeah,
Great album.
check out the title track, and I would say Judgment Day.
Okay.
I still listen to those pretty regularly.
Oh yeah.
Nice and angry. Suicide Silence. This is the one that kind of went back and forth a little bit, because they released a couple of a live album earlier, I think a couple months ago.
Okay.
And then they released something else, I think like mid part of the year. It's called Rare Ass Shit.
Okay.
And it's on, as far as I know, I don't know if they ever made like a physical copy of it, but I saw it on like the streaming stuff. It's on Spotify. But what it is it's demos and it's unreleased songs and live stuff from the Mitch era.
With who on vocals?
Mitch.
Oh no
so
shit!
Yeah, it's like old like first. I think the whole.
So they released more Mitch stuff that we've never heard.
Yeah, basically.
Holy fuck!
And as the reason that it's on, it's part of the honorable mention is because to me it's not a full new album.
Yeah, that was not written this year.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was all like close to.
I get that.
Yeah. So but to me as a fan of that era and as being as important of a band as they were at the time when all of that stuff was coming out, to hear like the stripped back versions of that and like just how they were all recorded as it, just like the rawness of it. It's just, as a fan, I thought it was something that was really special. It was cool to me. And there's like 26 songs on it.
It's huge. Yeah. It's a giant album.
So the next one, I don't know if you want to talk about together, but Anesthetic, Mark Morton.
This was on my honorable mention as well. Here, cheers.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
Excuse me.
Cheers to the Jaeger and to the Filthy 15.
Hell
yeah. For any motherfuckers that don't know, if you're sitting there going right now, why are you calling it the Filthy 15?
Ah, yes.
It's because a little history lesson for you. It comes from back in the early 90s when Tipper Gore and her fucking parental whatever the fuck group wanted to decide and go ahead and attack heavy metal and rap music and that's where parental advisory stickers were born out of that whole thing, and them trying to censor lyrics and censor content from musical artists. Included on that list were bands like AC/DC, I think Nugent was on there, Twisted Sister, of course, most notably Twisted Sister, because Dee Snider was the one who went down and addressed Congress. It was either Congress or the House of Representatives. I can't remember. I think it was Congress. And he sat down in a fucking skin-tight jeans, a fucking denim vest, and a tank top, and his giant Dee Snider hair, fucking eyeliner still on from last night, unfolds a crinkled up pieces of paper from his back pocket, sits down in front of fucking Congress, and then destroys them and savagely rips apart every argument they have ever made, trying to talk about how they should be censoring fucking music and art and how it's complete bullshit. So, in honor of Dee Snider and in honor of never forgetting that censorship is wrong and should never, ever be taken lightly, we decided to name our album of the year list the Filthy 15. So... Anesthetic.
I'm actually glad that it stuck too.
Right? I love it.
They definitely cover a lot of that in the Metal Headbangers Journey.
Yeah, if you want like a complete look at that, watch Metal Headbangers Journey. Fucking Christ, you should watch that. It's the greatest documentary ever made.
How many times have we talked about it?
Oh my God. It's part of the reason this podcast probably exists.
Yeah.
Banger TV at least for sure.
So Anesthetic.
Mark Morton, the guitarist of Lamb of God, came out with a solo album this year called Anesthetic, riddled with some top-notch guests, including Elisa White Gluz, Randy Bly, Chester Bennington. It was the last track Chester Bennington was on before he died, called Cross Off. Outstanding track, one of my favorites, still on regular repeat to this day. The reason why I didn't include this on my list is because I don't know if this is a metal album. Straight up, I don't know if I could sit down and there's too much different kinds of music on it. And Mark Morton said that. He's like, I didn't sit down and try to write a metal album. This is just the stuff I wanted to play with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not all of it's metal. But it's outstanding.
Oh, dude,
top to bottom.
Yeah, I liked it's called Save Defiance. It's with Miles Kennedy. It's
That's a
really
good one.
solid. Sworn Apart. Sorry,
That's a good one. Yep.
I don't typically like Jacoby from Papa Roach, like just with the band.
Okay.
I'm not really a super big fan of it, but for some reason, like the way that just the vocals were on that song and just everything else, I don't know. It's kind of a standout to me. And
All right.
I don't know. There's a few more, like, and that's the other thing is, as I was listening to it, I mean, you kind of figure, like, because of who it's from, you think maybe it's, a little more like along the metal side, but really, like, there's songs on it, like towards the end of it, I think Imaginary Days, that like bluesy kind of like folk kind of song.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I didn't really expect it, but like, I don't know, it took me a few times to kind of appreciate it for,
Me too.
for just being different.
Me too. And I think that's something that a lot of when a metal artist releases something solo, and it's because they've been playing metal for 15 years straight and they want to play with something a little different for a minute. I think a lot of people go into those albums with those expectations and end up getting disappointed.
Yeah.
I think you got to let them stand on their own, just like we are with this, just like I am with the new Josta record. Like, it's that new Josta. Yeah, there are some songs that would be at home on a Hatebreed record, but ultimately it's Josta. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's different.
Yeah.
There's 90% of it should never be on a Hatebreed record, but it's awesome to hear him kind of play around in those different areas. So I like that. I respect it when metal artists do something different, and I usually end up liking it. But yeah, like you said, it sometimes takes a few listens to get past that initial, like, oh, this isn't quite what I thought it was going to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that it? Is that all you got for honorable mentions?
If you got one, you can go ahead. I'm looking up something real quick.
Did I? Hold on one second. Actually, no. I do not have any other honorable mentions. The only others are going to appear later on the list. So
okay, well,
we're good.
I guess I can talk about the other one. And for anybody that's paying attention, like, this came out today.
Oh.
And there's a
Today,
reason.
December 26th. We are recording this the day after Christmas. Let's let people know.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays.
Yeah, man. So this band kind of gave us a little crazy
surprise
out of nowhere. Yeah. I'm talking about, of course, the Acacia Strain. Put out a new album, full album, called It Comes in Waves. It's a 7-song album, and yeah, I don't really know.
7 songs?
Yeah.
I haven't heard this yet. Again, it just came out today.
Yeah, and there's one song on it that's 5 minutes. The rest of it looks like it's around 3. Or no, sorry, yeah, the last song is 8 minutes.
Standard.
So yeah,
pretty standard.
Honestly, like, from what I've gathered from it is, like, because I've been following this band for a long time.
Long time. You love these guys.
Yeah, man. And it really kind of started with Continent, and ever since then, I feel like they've taken a lot of strides to kind of, like, go above sort of where they came from in terms of, like, that traditional kind of, like, hardcore, like, deathcore kind of sound. And kind of really, like, they're just, like, to me, they're just a really heavy band, and I feel like that's kind of how they normally sell themselves, because, like, there's so many things that, as far as sound wise, that you could say, like, fit in the deathcore, like, sound, but there's also, it's, some of their songs or some of their albums even are, like, really slow and, like, brooding and kind of, like, just darker and stuff. And this one, from what I've gathered from it, is it's very, like, there's a lot of, like, atmosphere to it. There's a lot of, like, doom elements to it, which are really cool. It kind of, like, there's a lot of, like, sounds and a lot of, like, it's definitely a lot slower than I'm used to from them. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, I wish I could say more on it. I wish I listened to it more. I wish I had the chance to.
Yeah, it only came out today.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do?
But because I showed up and we were kind of talking about it, and I think that alongside there's another band that we were talking about that put out something else kind of recently. I don't remember who it was, but you said something to the effect of like it's more like I think Cattle. Yeah, well, we'll talk about it, I guess, but it's kind of one of those things like I feel like they just kind of put it out just to release it, not to necessarily have it be like on any list or anything like that, just to have it be like its own thing and not have so much of the pressure of like, pressure, I'm not sure if that's the right term for it, I guess, but like, not so much like, I mean, because I don't feel like anybody really knew about it.
Yeah, it was a secret album.
Yeah. So I feel like they kind of put it out as like, this doesn't have really anything to do with like, trying to get on any lists or anything. It's just a solid, piece of art and piece of work and stuff.
And you know what? It's not even lists like our list. It's lists like we just made this. We didn't want. It sends a message when a band has zero promotion and they just drop an album.
Yeah.
They're like, we just made this. We wanted to put it out, and this is the way we wanted to do it. That's it.
Yeah.
This isn't because the less promotion you have, arguably, the less money you're going to make off of it.
Yeah.
So that's not what this is. What this is for them. This is just them wanting to do this specific sound right now and put these tracks out right now.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. I will definitely be listening to that.
And this was the first one since Grave Bloom, which came out in 2017, which is also fantastic. So
is that the name of a band too? Grave Bloom?
Oh yeah.
Detroit band or something?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I didn't put that together. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's
the
last
honorable
one
mentions.
I got.
All right. Fuck yeah. Let's. All right, then. I guess this is starting with number 15 on our Filthy 15. You want to go first or should I?
You can go first.
All right, my 15th. Now again, this is just my number 15. This is not my 15th favorite, but my number 15 is the boys. The fucking what are they? I think they're from Greece. The Greek boys. I think Rotting Christ. They're from Greece, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Rotting Christ released The Heretics on February 15th on Season of Mist Records. And full disclosure, this is not going to be the first time I say this tonight either. This is the first album I know of this band. Like, I've heard of them before. I've heard little things here and there. But this is the first album that really caught my attention, and I sat down with it and bought it and listened to it top to bottom and everything. Over and over and over. I think it's an outstanding, I guess, black metal album? I guess you could call it. What?
Yeah. No, you can keep going.
Oh.
I just had something to add to it, but yeah.
Outstanding. It's really fucking good. They do some really crazy stuff on it too, like the ending track with the Raven. I thought was really cool. That was the Raven, where they literally do like a song over the Edgar Allan Poe poem, and then they do have a song called "Hallowed Be Thy Name," which immediately makes me go Iron Maiden. But in full disclosure, it wasn't one of my favorite tracks on the album because it was kind of like that line isn't one of the only lines in the song.
Oh.
Hallowed be thy name, over and over. So some songs are a little bit repetitive. Some songs are a little bit too Wallace soundy for me. But there are some absolute fucking gems on this album. Obviously, it's the first one I've listened to by them top to bottom, so I can't speak to how, where this place is compared to any others or anything like that. I still need to go back and listen. I'm definitely going to go and listen to more of their albums now. But yeah, this album, it was, it's one that just, like, I saw pop up on YouTube one day, and I listened to a couple tracks, and I was like, holy shit. And then I think a couple months ago, I saw it on one of Clint's lists that he was posting on Facebook, and like a few months back, and I was like, oh shit, that fucking Rotting Christ, I should check that out. And I went back and listened to a few songs off the album, and I was like, buying it. And yeah, I've been, like I said, this isn't, for me personally, every track isn't a banger, but most of them are, and the ones that are really, really blew me away. And I think it's so cool how, like, they're a black metal band that I feel like I could almost, like, I don't know how to put this. I almost feel like I could somehow see a situation where someone could almost get away with playing some of their songs in a church and no one would know. You know what I mean? Because it's that sound. It's that chanty, almost Gregorian choir kind of fucking sound so much. And it's giant and it's cool. And that's one of the things I really enjoyed about this album. They really did a good job with that. So yeah, that's my number 15. Rotting Christ, Heretics, Season of Mist. Pick that shit up if you want some fucking black metal during these winter months.
Yeah, man. I didn't realize that this was the 13th album that they have.
Yeah, they got a lot, bro.
Yeah,
they got a lot, and they have some good ones.
Yeah.
I've listened to not whole albums, but most of some of their other albums on YouTube now, and I haven't bought any yet. But yeah, yeah, dude, they are fucking solid.
They're one of those bands that I'm very familiar with the name, but as far as like putting a sound with it, I'm kind of like it's tough to do.
Yep, they were that for me before I bought this album.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. I was like, I know the name, but I could not tell you what they sound like.
Yeah.
But now I'm so glad I fucking so glad. And they won't they be? I think they'll be here in a few months. I think they're gonna be down at the Sanctuary.
Yeah.
I want to go to that. Dude.
I think I could be wrong. Devastation on the Nation, I think, is the
yep,
tour.
Yep.
Yeah.
Devastation on the Nation tour. That's it. Yep. It's like the day after Carnifex.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Might be doing that.
When is Carnifex?
It's like they're both like a Friday and a Saturday in March, like
Oh.
March something, something. I don't know, like a 13th and 12th or something. But yeah, that's my Rotting Christ, Heretics. What is your number 15?
Well, I think I'm gonna switch it because I feel like I want to talk about that album last.
Okay.
I'm just looking at this now. I want to talk about my number 15. I guess is The Valley from Whitechapel.
Ooh.
It's released on March 9th.
They were going to be in my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very, very different record for them.
I feel like a very divisive one.
Yeah.
Amongst the fans.
Because it, like, to me, all right, so just so I have.
Whitechapel. Mr. Bozeman.
Okay. So we've talked about this band a lot, and I feel like if you're like, you know, aware of what's been happening in, you know, the deathcore scene or the modern, I guess I don't even really know if it's like, you know, like modern deathcore scene or whatever, but like
Does it even exist anymore? Like, is there even
well, because
modern deathcore?
we're
both big fans of Whitechapel. Let's start there.
Yeah.
Giant.
Oh yeah. Like I've pretty much, I mean, everything except for I'd say Mark of the Blade, the last album, which was, I mean, it had some good songs on it, and I'll say that the last two, Our Endless War, which was 2013, and then Mark of the Blade, which was 2015. I feel like they were definitely like making strides towards the sound that ended up on The Valley, because there's a lot of there's a lot of that. Yeah, there's a lot of the you know, a lot more of the singing came through with it. I feel like they started, I'm not sure which song it was. I feel like there was one or two on Our Endless War that happened that had clean vocals on it or singing on it. But this one, like, the first few singles that they put out for it, I wasn't super crazy into it, but then, you know, I've listened to it, you know, a couple of songs or whatever, like before it came out and stuff, and I was like, dude, this rolls over you, kind of like.
That's the kind of feeling I got. Like you said, I was not a fan of the singles when they first came out because they were dropping singles with almost nothing but clean vocals, and that's such an interesting choice when those are some of the only tracks on the album with those. You know what I mean? It really paints a picture of the album that doesn't really exist. It's almost, interesting. It's almost like a trick. It's almost like they put those out because now that those songs can be played on the radio, no problem. And then people go buy the album and the entire rest of the album is brutal. You know what I mean? So that's kind of interesting. But
I'll say that, like, this one is, I mean, lyrically it's pretty dark. It's
extremely dark.
Like there's a lot of as far as I know, it's a concept. But it's based
has a
on
story.
Yeah. It's based on Phil, the singer, his childhood.
Yeah.
There's a lot of songs about that, and it definitely comes by in the later half of the album. I think I want to say it's Hickory Creek. It's either that or Doomwoods. I don't know. Towards the end of the album, there's like it's just kind of a sad sounding album to me, which I feel like makes it like that much more like stand out to me, because I feel like the last couple albums kind of missed that that thing that really kind of grabbed me about it. Like it just felt like a collection of songs, whereas this feels like one like
a piece.
Yeah, this feels like an actual album that you can kind of follow and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely Forgiveness is Weakness is one of the heavier ones. I've really grown to enjoy when a demon defiles a witch. I think it's really cool. It's one of the more different songs.
And it's funny that you say those two because those two are the ones I remember most about watching. I listened to an interview. Maybe he was on Josh the Show or something, and he talked about the lyrics for those two tracks in particular.
Yeah.
The lyrics in those two songs definitely stand out to me, and what they're about.
Yeah. Forgiveness is Weakness. Like it's catchy and like there's certain like it's not like a hard song to figure out as far as like structurally or whatever.
Sure.
So it's really easy like the first couple of times you hear it to kind of like sing along to it. It's really cool. It's pretty like super aggressive. Yeah. So yeah,
that's something I like.
I feel like The Valley made it. It was definitely one of the more talked about albums this year. Came out in March. I don't know if I mentioned that, March 21st.
Yep.
So it was, kind of early
out for a while.
Yeah, kind of early into the year, but it's also been pretty anticipated as well.
It was very anticipated. And full disclosure, I've not heard it top to bottom. Oh wait, I lied. Yes, I have, but I've only heard it once top to bottom. I have not purchased it yet. I am going to though, because I really like it, and I think the lyrical content on it and the mess and what it's about and everything. You should really, if you're a fan, you should seek out those interviews. Any interviews Phil Bozeman was doing around that time talking about these things. Like, it was really fascinating subject matter.
Yeah. And a lot of the videos that have gone along with it have been very like striking visually. So also I feel like it kind of added, I mean this doesn't have anything to do with it, but I went through I think I was in Tennessee. I was driving through Tennessee this summer. And I put it on, or I was like, because what's the few things that are out of like Knoxville? I was driving through Knoxville. I was like, well, it's Jack Daniels. Mm-hmm. There's Whitechapel. So I guess I would have listened to Whitechapel. And like, I don't know, just like driving through all that stuff and like hearing that album and stuff, I feel like just kind of added a little extra to it. So
yeah, not a lot of medals from down there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's too bad. They'd love it.
So yeah, The Valley, Whitechapel. Check it out.
Outstanding. And I absolutely would. Did you say yeah, they came out in March. Interesting. All right. So I guess on to my number 14.
Yeah.
To be honest, I do not have a lot to say about this one because I have listened to it a lot, but not quite as much as the others on my list. Number 14, Misery Indexed, Rituals of Power, released March 8th on Season of Mist Records. Outstanding. This is another one, though, where this is the first top-to-bottom Misery Indexed album I've heard. I did not know that until right before I bought this album, and I was watching some music videos by them that they even had two singers. Didn't know that. Like there's a lot. They've been around for quite a. They got a good amount out, don't they? How many albums?
Misery Index?
Yeah. They've been around for a while.
4 or 5 albums at least.
They've been around. Yeah. Oh really?
Yeah.
Hold on. When was the first album out? I didn't know that.
I think like 2001.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. But this album, so yeah, like I said, it's hard for me to like. I've heard a lot of their other stuff, but it's hard for me to really compare it in terms of a top to bottom album. However, this one, fucking just nonstop, dude. It's just non-fucking stop heavy, and it's one that. Yeah, it's almost the exact same situation we were talking about with Rotting Christ. It was a band who I knew their name, but I couldn't put a sound to them, so I started looking into them because I kept seeing that they were having a new album out, and I was like, fucking possible new band, I'll check them out. You liked them, you told me about them, and I started watching some music videos, and what was crazy is I actually think I'd seen a handful of their older music videos back in like 2008. When I first started, getting into a lot of stuff. But yeah, this album, Rituals of Power, is fucking, like I said, just top to bottom, relentless, in your fucking face, straightforward heavy metal. You know what I'm saying? Nothing just raw.
Yeah.
Just a great raw sound. Something that is missing in a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So many things. And not as much in metal. We're pretty lucky. But even sometimes in metal, things sound just a little too tight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's what people forget. That's what people like. I don't ever want a computer to make any of the sounds. I don't want fucking auto tune. I want it. If I'm ever gonna do anything on an album, I want. If I make a mistake, I want that to be heard. If that's the final cut of that song we want. You know what I'm saying? Go back and listen to fucking Zeppelin. Go back and listen to fucking Sabbath. There are mistakes.
Oh yeah.
Robert Plant goes flat sometimes. Or I mean, Jim. Yeah. Plant goes flat sometimes. Fucking. Iommi will miss a note or mess up a note here or there. But then. Fucking years later, that's how everyone else sings that song. It's iconic.
Yeah.
It's iconic. Nobody gives a fuck. It's iconic. You know what I'm saying? And I think that realness and that rawness is what's missing in a lot of things. And I don't know. I don't know that much about Misery Index at the moment, but that's just the feeling I got while I was listening to it, is that it had like a raw sound to it, something that was just open, brutal, and honest. You know what I'm saying? Like, felt good.
You should really go back and check out some of the earlier ones.
I have. I got a running list of their albums that I'm going to purchase because this one blew me away so much. Absolutely outstanding.
Man, Heirs to Thievery came out 2010. Probably one of my favorite albums.
Holy shit.
Ever.
Damn.
Honestly.
I'm definitely checking. That'll be the next one I get.
Just because, the thing about Misery Index that I really enjoy is, and no different for this album. Like the first 3 songs from it, no bullshit. Just kind of get you right into it.
Exactly.
There's riffs. It's just heavy. It's
Welcome to Riff City, where the riffs are hard and not so pretty.
I wasn't a big fan of the 2 singles they put out, New Salem and I Disavow. Mostly just stylistically. I just thought they were a little bit different than I was expecting, which isn't a bad thing. It just took me a little while to kind of figure out, kind of realize.
What are they going for here, kind of a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the first 3 tracks on it, man, just get you right into it.
Yeah.
And it's cool because a lot, they're a 4-piece, but a lot of, and I think we talked about it because I think it ended up on Clint's list, but I think a couple of them started off in Dying Fetus as well.
Shut up. Really?
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Because I think it was their guitar player that started the band. Their guitarist, and then So that's kind of cool. And you can definitely hear it, especially in the earlier stuff.
Right there, though, Dying Fetus is another band where I do know what they do have tracks that I like a lot, but I don't think I've ever heard a top to bottom album.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I need to.
I'm gonna you're gonna learn.
I'm gonna learn today.
I got some recommendations for you.
They're one I've seen in concert too.
Yeah.
I know I've seen them.
Super tight, really solid live band. Really cool. So yeah.
Hell yeah. So Misery, my number, what was this? Number 14, was Misery Index, Rituals of Power. Again, released March 8th on Season of Mist. Check that shit out. Number 14, over to Aaron.
All right.
What do we got?
So I spent a lot of the first half of this year just trying to get more into down-tempo, hardcore kind of stuff. To me, there's just something about it that's I don't know.
Doomy stuff?
No,
Wait, down tempo hardcore, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Filth, I guess. Those kind of bands.
Oh.
Knock Loose.
That's hardcore?
It's more down tempo, kind of heavier stuff.
I mean, it's real. It's
yeah. Yeah. Kind of that sort of thing. Super aggressive, yeah. But that's not the band I was talking about. I was just kind of trying to reference the noise.
No. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that would be described at all as hardcore. But okay, fair enough. Okay.
The band I want to talk about is they released the album in February 5th. Talking about Traders.
Oh, you love these guys.
Repent.
You showed them to me a few times.
Yeah, man.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
I like them a lot.
I got really into them when Anger Issues came out. That is the one with the white cover. And mostly just because I was a big fan of Tyler Shelton's vocals on it. I think that he's in the way of of vocalists that are trying to do something different at a time when like there's so much of the same sound coming out. Like if you hear there's more so like the later stuff. You know, if you hear it, you can definitely tell it's it's him and it's it's that band just because of like the sound on it. So I was pretty big into the last album, like I said, Anger Issues, and then they put out 2 singles. It's called Dwell and then Left to Rot.
Ooh.
And right off the bat,
I like that title.
Yeah, man. Like somehow it's kind of a shorter record. It's only 9 songs long, but like it is. There's
how long is it for 9? Is it like 9 songs, but only like a half hour kind of a album, or 'cause 9 songs is pretty standard?
Yeah. There's not a time stamp for
no worries,
it, but
no worries. That's nothing. Don't worry about it.
The longest song on it there's 2 songs that are 4 minutes. And that's the longest.
Are there a lot that are like less than 2 minutes though?
Mostly like 3 to 4 minutes.
Oh,
so
that's normal. That's a pretty standard size album. Okay.
So the thing.
Okay, Aaron. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
For all you Letterkenny people. So yeah, I don't know, like the thing that stuck out to me just from the top is the production on it. It is one of the one of the most like in your face sounding, like super raw, but also like super refined sounds.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the drum sound on it. I like a lot of like the cymbal work, a lot of like the fills and like the drum stuff makes it feel like just super aggressive. And then I don't know, like it has this like I don't know, it just kind of like I said, it's over almost before you realize it. But there's songs that you definitely go back to. I really like 2 singles, Suffocate, the first song, and then there's I want to say it's Weak World. It's the 8th song. Toward the end of it, like it just, I mean, it's pissed. Like
yeah.
it's one of those bands and it's one of those albums that you put on and like you could really start this album and just let it play, which is cool. Like I've cycled through it a couple of times that way.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's worth mentioning. I'm a big fan of that sound, and there's a few others on here that are kind of mirror that sound a little bit. So I don't know. I feel like I've tried to get more into that sound this year.
What attracts you to it?
It's the whole feeling of it. It's the the down tune, because like I'm for the longest time I was looking for like some of the faster stuff.
Okay.
Like, and I still I'm still interested in it. Like there's a few on here that are like just wild.
Yeah.
But there's something to be said about that like blunt simplicity.
Yes.
That is very like it just grabs you.
Yes.
There's no like smoke and mirrors, nothing. It's like it's pissed, like it's heavy, and it's for the sake of it really, but there's also a lot of meaning toward the lyrics, and it's a lot of like just dealing with things, which is cool to me. So yeah, Traitors, repent.
Fuck yes.
Yep.
Shouts out. Okay, that brings us to lucky number 13. Am I right? Yes. That was your 14th, right?
Yep.
Number 13 for me. A band that I saw earlier this year for the first time. That's where I bought this album, was at that show. And it was one of the first, that was probably the first time I'd ever heard actually like listening to their music, was that night. This is the band called Insight. Album Built to Destroy, released January 25th on Minus Head Records. Insight, notably, the lead singer is Richie Cavalera, son of Max Cavalera of Soulfly and Sepultura. And I saw Insight opening for Soulfly. It was in Flint. It was a fucking incredible show. Met Richie that night. He was he was really, really nice guy. And I got the album, and I have been playing it all year. It has a real sound that I look for a lot. You could, there you go. I guess for, we talk about this right here is why subgenre titles are important. So we can talk about the differences in sound. You know what I'm saying? No other reason, but it gives us the vocabulary to be able to make the distinctions between the different sounds that we hear in the different bands. These guys, to me, would be in the category of groove metal. which is apparently something that I love because it's Pantera, it's Lamb of God, it's Devil Driver. You know what I mean? Some of my all-time favorite bands, and these guys, and and Sepultura, both of them. These guys definitely fall into that category, and they do it real fucking hard and fast, just really awesome. Like just like kind of I don't know how to describe the feeling. But it's almost like it's not. No metal is really upbeat, but that's how I feel when I listen to it. Like like kind of like when the feeling when I listen to like when I put on a Battle Cross record or something like that. Just something fast, hard, in your face, like Pantera that just fucking makes you go and want to pump your fist and beat your chest. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it's
just fun and awesome to listen to, and it's one you can put on in the car, turn it all the way up, and hear it top to bottom, no issues. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Without hesitation. And I actually bought like 3 or 4 of their albums they had at on the merch table that night. Listened to them all this year, and I love them all. But the one this year is Built to Destroy, and I highly recommend anybody who has not heard of Insight or heard that album yet, definitely check that shit out. If you like that just fucking raw, like, I guess groove metal sound is the way to describe it. That's the category it's in.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. Like, because I think of, like you said, like Devil Driver and even Lamb of God is that.
Yeah.
So when you say that, I'm like, oh, instantly,
yeah,
I can, that makes sense.
Yeah. This is the sound.
Yeah. I guess that album was produced by Steve Evans, who's done anybody from The Cure to Dillinger Escape Plan to God Forbid.
Holy shit.
He did a couple Suicide Silence albums.
What?
The last Outlaws Till the End, the Devil Driver record.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Holy shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Well, yeah,
So
there
you go. That checks out then.
That
makes
adds
sense.
to it.
Yeah.
So my number 13, Insight, Built to Destroy, Minus Head Records, January 25th. Listen to that shit. Shout out to Richie Cavalier.
I gotta listen to that one.
Yeah.
Because I definitely, they've been around since, what, 2006?
Yeah, for a little while now. Yeah, a little one, 10 years, yeah. Fantastic live, too. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So good live, dude.
That's the thing about, like, that style of metal is, like, even if you haven't heard it, like, if there's a band that's playing that has that sound, like, there's going to be a lot of, like, energy.
Yes.
A lot of crowd interaction and stuff.
And there was, yeah. Yeah, it was a great show.
So, with that,
what's your lucky number 13?
I'm gonna kind of throw a curveball here because this one, I don't really feel like I've heard a lot of people talk about, and that's fine because to me, it's a very interesting kind of at this point polarizing band. Talking about Periphery. Put out an album called Hail Stan.
This is a band this is a band I don't know the sound of at all.
Yeah. Well,
I could not tell you what they sound like.
I'll try to make sense of it. Hail Stan is the name of it. Came out April 5th this year, so another early one. So I guess for those that don't know, or to kind of catch them up, Periphery is a band that pretty much is they're to me they're a progressive band. And I feel like at this point, as far as like albums go and as far as like the sound, they'd probably classify themselves as that as well. A lot of people would say that they're one of the bigger bands that came with the gent genre. That kind of sound to it.
Okay.
I mean, their first album is like staple.
That's one of the subgenres I've never really dipped my toes into, so that would probably be why I don't know what they sound like.
Yeah, it's very like groove heavy. But also, I don't know. There's a lot of intricate patterns to it. There's a lot of like different time signatures. It's very like kind of all over the place music in some senses. But it's also like there's a lot of really cool like there's a lot of room for experimenting with it.
Yeah.
Because to me, like I find a lot of bands that sort of used to fall into that category or like kind of move from one to the other. I feel like I'm more along the lines of like progressive bands. I feel like you kind of interchange those and you'd be fine with it. Like, I mean, I guess it depends on who you ask, really. Because there's a lot of purists that would say like, Periphery's not, progressive or gent or whatever. I don't know. But I guess to get back onto it, the album I want to talk about is the first album since they split from Sumerian Records on the last. So Periphery 3 was 2018, and then they took a whole year off to write this one, and it's the first album on their own label, so they completely self-released it, self-recorded it, everything else like that. And a lot of times, like they're one of those bands that they've put out so much music, and so much of it is either like conceptual or it's like one. I mean, because you got Periphery 1, 2, the double album that they put out a few years ago, and then 3 and 4, which are like the full length albums and stuff. So there's a lot of room for them to like kind of experiment and kind of like write and stuff. But this one, to me, stuck out because it was the first one, like I said, that they weren't on Sumerian, which is a pretty gigantic label, or it was at one time. Now, not so much. They've kind of taken a pretty odd direction, but and at one time they were one of the bigger bands that was on the label. And so when I heard that they were kind of splitting from that, it was like, for one, why didn't it happen before? Because they have such a, they have a gigantic following. They've, made quite a few different albums and stuff. And, they've been around for quite a while, and they've definitely pushed this sound. And the first thing that I noticed was there's a song on it that's called Reptile, and the first song is 14 minutes.
Whoa.
And it's a whole, concept. I don't know, it goes all over the place. It's just a really cool song to listen to, and then the rest of it is pretty straightforward, kind of all over the place as far as sound wise. And that's kind of the thing that's cool about this one is there's some of the heavier songs that they've ever written, and then some of the more kind of I guess more along the lines of progressive stuff. I feel like I keep saying those two terms a lot, but so I guess for reference, Blood Eagle was the first single, and when I first heard that, I played it to death. I still that's one of my favorite songs of the year. It's so heavy and just catchy. There's such a groove to it, kind of bounce to it and stuff. It's cool lyrics. And then Church Burner was the other one that they made a video for. It's kind of a shorter one, and those two songs are kind of back to back. But yeah, that's those 3 songs. I mean, by themselves, that's a half-hour long album. And there's 9 songs on it, so it's a 63. It's almost an hour long, but there's a lot of stuff on it. And the thing about Periphery is that the vocals are somewhere between really really clean vocals, higher stuff, higher registry and stuff, and also super gross kind of just highs and lows and stuff. But it's all the way that it's all mixed, and just how it all complements the music and stuff is really cool. Spencer Sotelo is probably one of my favorite vocalists. Currently, he's just doing a lot of stuff that I feel like people kind of look over. And then so yeah, I feel like it's one that it's pretty different in terms of what everything else that's come out this year. And I feel like if you're a fan of Periphery, you'll enjoy it for one reason or another, and if you're not, then it might not change your opinion on them. But I would say if you're kind of on the fence about it, or if you've heard some of their older stuff, I would personally I'd recommend if you're starting either the second album or the double album, the Alpha Omega that they came out with a couple of years ago. That's a pretty solid good mix of everything that's kind of on this one, and this kind of takes it a step further. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Periphery.
Excellent. That was your number 13.
Yep.
Number 12 for me came out May 24th on Nuclear Blast Records. Of course, I'm talking about Flesh God Apocalypse with Veleno.
Italy.
The Italian Stallions. The Italian Brutalities. That fucking goddamn first single. Sugar.
Yeah.
Push, push, push. Push. I love that song. Everybody loved that song. That song blew up. I couldn't believe it. And I thought it was outstanding. Another band who this is the first album I heard top to bottom. But
which is Anyway, go on.
But the in another one that before this album I wouldn't have been able to tell you what they sounded like really, which is almost kind of knowing what I know now about them is kind of fair when you consider the different soundings of their all their albums.
Yeah.
Now that I've heard so much more of them, but this one blew me away. Yeah, maybe half. This one fucking absolutely blew me away. And from you know what? Hold on one second. I think I have it right here.
I'll say I as a longtime fan of this band, pretty much ever since.
I'm trying to find the songs. Hold on.
Ever since Oracles, which is one of their first albums, and that one is just like. You know, even the like Agony was the one that really got me into them as far as like the real symphonic, like over the top kind of chaotic sound and stuff. But ever since, like, you know, each of their albums kind of moves a little bit.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
from the last sound, and I feel like on King, the last one, they you know really kind of honed in on like the symphonic kind of style to it, and then this one is even more so. And honestly, that was kind of like that's what, you know, I mean. I'll let you go on, I guess. But that was the one thing that, like, you know, really kind of gave me a trouble with this the first couple of times I heard it.
Okay.
So
fair enough. I love the symphonic stuff. Though.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'm a big fan of like all that. But yeah, like and even for me though, at first, like I loved Sugar, but at first I was not a big fan of the second single, Carnivorous Lamb. You know what I'm saying? But, like, you know, once you hear it in the context of the entire album, when it comes after the opening track, Fury, and followed by Sugar, it makes complete sense, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Fucking
Absinthe, Worship and Forget, The Day Will Be Gone, and the title track for Lino. This album really doesn't have any weak points for me. This one really is. It's straight through top to bottom. You got to listen to it top to bottom. It is a piece. Which I feel like is with most of their albums. It is a piece, though, that deserves to be listened to from top to bottom. But this one does lend itself to have certain tracks like Sugar and Worship and Forget, I would say, that can be listened to kind of on their own. You know what I'm saying? Carnivorous Lamb as well, a little bit. I think that one makes more sense in the context of the album. For me, as a listener, at least. But, I mean, it was a single, so, you know. But I absolutely fucking, yeah. One of my favorite albums of the year. One of my most listened to by far. It's the one I keep on going back to. I really enjoyed that one.
That one is interesting too because between King and this one, they lost 2 members, I believe, and one of those was the vocalist.
Oh,
and
shit!
It's really kind of crazy because they've always had a history of doing this, but I guess. On the first album, and I could be wrong about this, but this is as far as I know.
Yeah.
First album, Oracles, it was the guitar player. I mean, well, basically on Agony, the vocalist from Oracles, which is their first album, learned drums and is the drummer on the last from Agony to King, I believe.
Okay.
And then, so this one is the first album where the drummer is back doing vocals and guitars.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. And that's, like, the other thing that I, definitely picked up on, especially with this one, is all of the vocals on it.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much, and it's not just, like, what you would think of as, like, traditional metal vocals. It's like, operatic stuff in a sense.
Yep.
They have a standalone, pretty much opera singer, kind of doing backing stuff, and they even do it live too, which is,
operatic is something else I love too.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that on your list. I've noticed, and it's cool too, because like that's a style that for me has always been really kind of underrated. Like, there's a lot of that, like, symphonic stuff that's just really cool, and it fits with metal so well.
Yeah, it's like, it makes me think of, like, walking into, like, a giant castle or cathedral or something, and it's just black metal.
Yeah.
I love it. I fucking love it. Oh, so yeah, my number 12 was again Flesh God Apocalypse, Velino, killing it with Velino, out May 24th on Nuclear Blast Records. Number 12 for you. Over to you, sir.
So this one is an EP.
Well, real quick, would you like
Yeah.
shabba-doo-doo, shibbity-bop?
Cheers.
Yes. Kaboom. Shakalaka.
All right.
All right.
Which number was this? I lost track.
11.
Number 11.
No, wait, for you it's 12. Sorry. For
Okay.
you it's 12. For me it was A Finish God. One of the best fucking names, too. Them and
Dude,
Rotting Christ.
yeah.
Are you kidding me?
I don't know. The first time I heard that name, I was like, "Oh, dude!" Like,
I just love the fact that I like the bands that are named that.
yeah.
I love that so much.
So my number 12 is an EP, and I almost didn't put this on here, but judging and pretty much based on the fact that this was such a monumental return
Ooh.
for this band, and anybody around, let's say, so the first album was 2008, and then the one after that was 2010. Both of those albums were pretty revered as like some of the top like staple deathcore albums for anybody that was into it around that time. I'm talking about In Hell Followed With.
Oh, shit. You just got me into these guys.
Yeah, man.
Outstanding.
It is like
Outstanding.
yeah, like I hope that we can do a tour at very most a show with this band, because they released an EP this year, September 20th, so it was a few months ago. It's called Chimerical Reality, and the reason that it made the list, it wasn't going to originally, just because it's an EP, and I don't feel like, I mean, not that has anything to do with it, but I feel like there was a few things that maybe could have, been on this, in this place. But the reason is I ended up seeing them for the first time for this tour cycle, for this release, and they played the entire EP top to bottom, and it was insane. Like, it was one of the coolest ways that I could have experienced that album, because I'd heard it before when it released, because I think that was just before it all came out and stuff, a couple weeks before, and then I heard it and I was like, it's very like, there's a lot of ambient stuff going on in it, but it's also really fast, which is cool. Like, they didn't lose the sound that they had, they just kind of made it more modernized, I feel like, because it's been, I mean, at this point, like 10 or 11 years since the last album. And that was a sign of the times, really.
Yeah.
Like, that was an album that came out, around the time when deathcore was like gigantic. And everybody kind of had that sound. So to see them on that tour and to see them come back with a new EP this year after what was considered to be like, them kind of, for the longest time, they were doing a lot of like, re-releases. They remastered a couple albums. They put out a few things on vinyl and stuff, but there wasn't really any word of anything new coming out. And then all of a sudden, they made an announcement about it, and it was like, just excitement kind of from there on out. So yeah, I would definitely check them out, because they're a band that I feel like, I guess needless to say, like the lineup for this one is great. Like the energy, everything, the sound, like it was probably one of the more fun shows that I remember seeing. And like most of the shows I've seen this year have been at Sanctuary, oddly enough. But it was,
they are fucking killing it.
Yeah.
Shout out to Sanctuary Detroit.
Yeah, man. So it was
best metal venues in the state right now.
I think it was one of the few times that's happened where, like, there's like a band has put out something new and been like, all right, so I mean, it's only 6 songs, I guess, but like, she played it top to bottom and then played more like classic songs.
Yeah,
it was just cool. So
that's fantastic.
So yeah, Chimerical Reality and Hell Followed With.
Was that an independent release?
Looks like it. Yeah. Or Hollowed Records. It looks like.
Oh, hell yeah, nice.
Yeah, Michigan band, Detroit.
Woo! Shout the fuck out. Wait, are they really?
Yeah.
Oh fuck, I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. That's why that show was so big. That's why that was such a big deal. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
How did I not know that? Fool.
says formed after the breakup of Fatal Fire with members of Amidst the Fallen, Dulosis, For the Fallen Dreams, who are another big Michigan band.
Yeah.
So.
And to be honest, had I gotten into them earlier in the year, it's possible they would have made my list because of how much I like them right now.
Yeah.
Like it's just I haven't spent enough time with them yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They have a really unique sound, which is cool. There's a lot of bigger, like ambient sort of stuff, but it's also, I don't know, it's just cool. It's super brutal. So, and it's also like only a half hour long. It's like 20 minutes. So for EP, it's not bad. So.
Yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Moving on, keeping the train a rolling to number 11. Now, see, this is an example right here of how, like, these are not in, at least these first 10 aren't in any particular order, because I've definitely listened to Rotting Christ and Flesh God more than this next one. But the 11th one we're going to talk about here on my list is, by this just, if you know black metal, you might. I don't know. These guys are pretty underground. You may have never heard of them. If you've been listening to black metal, you might have heard of Mayhem. I don't know. They came out with...
No, who's that? Never heard of them.
They came out with a album this year, which I did not see coming. I didn't know they were working on anything.
I didn't either.
Daemon, Daemon, out November 8th on Century Media Records. And I see. This is a weird one for me because I almost feel like I like when
Yeah?
when
Indeed, yeah.
when you know Mayhem, when you know what black metal, true Norwegian black metal is supposed to be, this isn't that.
Not really.
Right?
Not really.
Exactly. This is straight up like symphonic black metal. Like this is like if you like Dimmu, you will like this. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I love Dimmu. So I liked this a lot.
Which is weird because a lot of people that like Dimmu usually don't like traditional black metal. So
Really?
yeah, at least I've found more so the recent stuff they put out.
Well, I'm talking like Death Cult.
Yeah, it's like oddly polarizing.
And like the other one with the puritanical and like that, whatever that is.
Yeah. But anyway.
But yeah, like this album, when I put it on, I was like, ooh, like this reminds me of Dimmu. And I went crazy. Like I went crazy with it. And it's only been out a month and a half, so I haven't had, quite as much time to spend with it. But I've definitely listened to it top to bottom quite a bit. And yeah, basically straight up brutal, fucking terrifying, badass symphonic black metal shit you put on in the car and you're almost worried the road is gonna open to a portal to hell. Like the earth will crumble beneath you. You know what I'm saying? Like this is shit that you put on and wonder, are they actually trying to summon a demon on this record? Like what is happening here?
Yeah.
It's just so fucking dark and evil sounding, and that's one of my absolute favorite sounds in general in metal. So, just the more evil, I love the evil.
Yeah.
When it sounds like demons, when it sounds like a demon, fuck, I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know, I love it.
Dude, and especially like I find, especially this time of year, well, when there's like actual snow out. And,
well, typically,
and it's cold as fuck.
Typically, it's nightmare outside right now. Yeah, typically it is a black metal album cover outside right now.
Yeah.
Today it was 60 degrees the day after Christmas in Michigan.
Yeah.
That's fucking. I can't, dude.
I don't have really much to add to that.
I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, but
it was a green ass Christmas.
Yeah.
More ways than one.
Normally, most of the time, I find a lot of enjoyment in crazy, like just chaotic black metal. Mm-hmm. I find a lot of enjoyment in it around this time of year because it's just kind of like it's gloomy out. It's like
Dude, are you a seasonal listener?
I guess. I guess
thought
that's what
about
makes
this. I've been thinking about this, dude. I actually wanted to bring this up on this podcast because there are certain albums and there are certain bands that I won't listen to certain times of year. Not because I'm picking it. It's just I never feel like listening to it. But then other times of the year, it's like all I want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. That's definitely black metal as far as where I come from. Like there's some days where it's like, man, I just want to hear like I don't even care what it sounds like. I just want to hear something like haunting and something like just fast. And a lot of times for me, it's dissection. But at the same time, a lot of the symphonic stuff does it for me as well. A lot of Dimmu, that kind of stuff. And just stuff that makes you just like, I don't know, just this big, like Flesh God was one, and definitely Agony.
Yeah.
Agony and Labyrinth.
Flesh God's a good example.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I guess that does make me a seasonal listener.
I think a lot of people are, and you don't really think about it.
Yeah.
But that's something like I've always actually thought about, like, and it wasn't even necessarily with black metal. The way my brain like looks at it is usually opposite. It's from there's stuff that I only like to listen to in the summer. Like there's summer music, you know what I'm saying? So like Devil Driver for me. But Devil Driver does have some albums. Like Devil Driver is actually a crazy one because Devil Driver goes all the way around. There are certain Devil Driver albums for the summer, for the fall, for the winter, and for the spring.
Yeah.
Like all of them have different feels like that. It's real fucking trippy to me. But I love it. Seasonal listening. I've never thought about it. Well, I have thought about it. What the fuck? That's my whole point of this.
Yeah.
I've thought about it a lot, actually. But yeah, what I meant to say is I wanted to bring that up on this podcast, and I haven't yet. And I actually had. It's crazy that you said that and brought it up like that because I had it written down and I wasn't even going to remember to look at it. That's trippy.
There you
go. So yeah, my number 11 was Mayhem Damon, out November 8th on Century Media Records. If you like the big symphonic black death metal, black metal, Dimmu-esque sound, you will fucking love this, and I loved it.
So I guess to keep that kind of concept and that kind of sound rolling, what number is this? 11?
Your number 11, yes.
To be honest, I have these numbered, but I'm kind of going off based on just random ones I want to talk about at the time. So
yeah, right.
Kind of skipping around everywhere.
I should be doing that too.
But so the next one, to keep with that, that kind of style, and since we're talking about it so much, this one came out in August 16th. It's been on a lot of people's lists. They are a band that formed in 2013. Talking about Shadow of Intent. The album's called Melancholy. Melancholy. This is the first album from them that I really feel like has grabbed me the way that I wish that their other albums would have. And that's not to say that their other ones are bad. I just feel like this one has way more of a defined sound to it that I'm more looking for when it comes to this kind of style, because they're symphonic, melodic hardcore, or deathcore rather. So there's that kind of style. It's really fast, but it's also like crushingly heavy at the same time. And there's definitely a lot of shining moments on, Primordial and Reclaimer, which is their first two albums. A lot of songs that really, like a lot of like one-off songs, I would say, like here and there. I didn't really like them as a full album, for one reason or another. It's not to say they're bad. Again, it's just like, I don't know. I wasn't really like, I have to kind of be in the mood to kind of hear that bigger, that kind of like sound, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. But this one to me is just something else entirely. Like they definitely take the black metal a step further on this one, to the point where some of it sounds like it could have been off the new Dimmu album just because of a lot of the vocals on it, which is a new thing for them. They took a lot of those, a lot of the, the tips from just, really, like a lot of the staple sounding like black metal elements, but also fused it with this really heavy, like black and deathcore sound that's awesome. So yeah, I don't know. They put out and I guess the other cool thing is released the instrumental version of it as well,
Oh, that's cool.
which they've done, I think, with the last 2 albums. Which, like, to me, I mean, let's see, Ben Dewar is like one of the top, I guess, leading vocalists of the current deathcore genre. Like, everybody talks about it. Like, to me, he's kind of up there with, like, you know, Cattle, Travis Ryan,
Oh, okay.
and Dickie Allen from Infinite Annihilator. Like, he's definitely taken that sound of, you know, that really guttural stuff mixed with that super, like, you know, just highs, and I don't know, just the range is crazy, and he just does a lot of things vocally that I feel like is missing from a lot of other vocalists that kind of add to the music. But yeah, this one, I feel like in terms of the full album, it's more of like one feeling, whereas opposed to the last album, it felt very kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
At least to me, you know, maybe that's, you know, I might get a lot of flack for that, I guess, but that's just kind of my style. Like, this one felt more of like a, you know, like a straightforward, like, sound, like, you know, that they were going for, as opposed to writing songs that, you know, were kind of just to listen to, like, by themselves. Like, I feel like I had, you know, a way stronger opinion of this album as I heard it, you know, once all the way through, and then listening to it, like, from, you know, just individual song points, because it's I mean, you can really hear it either way, but a lot of times, you know, just it's like it's another one that you could just start and just have it run, and just, you know, there's a lot of, like, peaks, and there's a 10-minute, as far as I know, it's an instrumental. There's a 10-minute instrumental towards the end of it, which to me is like, there's something about instrumentals, like, when they're done super right, is like, I wish more bands did it.
Hell
a lot
yeah.
of times. Just because it's a chance to kind of pull back the curtain on the music side of things, rather than just having it be a full assault from the vocals and everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like it kind of shows what the band is more capable of, as opposed to just, you know, kind of like the traditional style of things. So I thought it was cool. There's a lot of more so like black metal stuff towards the end of it, or towards the middle of it. There's a song with Trevor on it, which I'm pretty sure I've showed you.
Nice.
Barren and Breathless
Yes,
Macrocosm.
yes.
That song has been on repeat
Fuck yeah.
a lot of times this year. So yeah, and they're a 4-piece. I believe they're coming to Detroit sometime next year
Nice.
for a headliner, which is cool.
Ooh,
I feel like
nice.
I'd like to see them, because we saw them once with, last time I saw them was with that Whitechapel and Black Dahlia Murder tour.
Nice.
And it was long before this album, so. And it seems like they're one of those bands that's always releasing music too. Like, every time, I mean, their first album was 2014, and then they released the first one, or that was EP, I'm sorry. The first full length was 2016, and then 2017, and then this one's 2019. But they released a single from this one that was in 2018. So they're in,
Okay.
a lot of the other members are in a bunch of other stuff at the same time. Like, their vocalist is doing stuff all the time. Hollow Prophet's another one that he's a part of, that he does vocals for, which is, like, if you're not as much of a fan of the big epics and the big long songs that Shadow of Intent has, like, that's, you know, that's kind of more towards the, you know, like, the regular, like, faster deathcore kind of stuff, but it doesn't, like, skip anything as far as, you know, the technicality and the songwriting and stuff. Like, it's all there. So yeah, Melancholy, Shadow of Intent.
Fuck yes.
Check it out.
Very good. It is very good. That's, you know, they're one I have not spent a lot of time with, but I really do like them a lot.
Me neither, until this album. Like, this was
Hell
kind
yeah.
of the turning point for me,
Nice.
which is cool. So
Oh yeah. Excellent. All right. Moving on to number 10. Here we go.
getting there.
The big number 10. For number 10 for me, another one that came out pretty recently, November 1st on Season of Mist. So, you know, I've had about as much time with it as I have that Mayhem record. Cannabis Corpse.
Ooh.
Nug So Vile.
I've heard none of this album, but I'm a big fan of this band.
Dude, it is so good. It is so fucking good, and it features fucking Brandon Ellis from Black Dahlia Murder and guest vocals from George Corpse Grinder Fisher. Definitely some of my absolute favorite cover. I think my favorite cover art they've ever done, probably, honestly. I fucking love this cover art. It's from Seasons of Mist. And, yeah, like I said, I have not had enough time to spend with it. not nearly as much as I had to spend with the last one. The last Left Hand Pass is the first album that I really got into them with, and then I got all of the rest of their albums. But it has a very different vibe to it than the last one. The last one was a little bit more groovy, I guess, than like kind of like not groovy, but more like headbangy than this one a little bit. It feels like, but I'm like halfway done with writing. I'm gonna do a review for it, a big review, and I'm like halfway done with writing that review. And so far, some of the lyrics are just outstanding, dude. Just fucking outstanding. I love, like, yeah, they're a parody band, but they write all original content.
Yeah.
And it's still like straightforward death metal.
Yeah.
And it's really, really good.
It's not like cheap. It's not like just using the name just for it. Like it's actually its own thing.
Very much so. And they're outstanding live. And this album, like so far, has really been, I've been loving it. Absolutely loving it. And I'm really excited to get through and finish the rest of that and get that review out. I think I'm hopefully going to do that tomorrow, but we shall see. But outstanding record. It just straight fucking forward death metal. Like no holds bar, no other. That's it. There are sometimes definitely there are some that's one reason why I like them is it's straightforward death metal, but they do have a unique element to it in that where sometimes it's a little thrashy. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I really liked about them, especially live.
Yeah.
Like they just have that energy about them where it's if you enjoy like the classic like, you know, old school death metal style, it's got that, but it's also, you know, like its own thing. It's kind
of like a little old school thrash to it too. Sometimes it's really fucking awesome.
Yeah,
that I love.
Well, and the singers from Municipal Waste.
Yep,
it's a side project.
Yep,
which makes complete sense when you hear it.
Yeah, and it is. Yeah, it is a side project, and it's a side project that has attracted some awesome fucking touring musician guests, fucking album musician guests, like all kinds of. Like, they're just having fun.
Yeah.
And it comes through, and it's enjoyable to listen to for, you know, I love it.
That's still, when we saw them, that's still one of, like, the fondest show memories I have, just because it was, like, such a, like, unique venue. It was a unique, like, just vibe for the night.
Yeah.
Like, all the bands were, like, you know, just had that kind of old school style to them.
Oh, yeah.
Because, like, I got into them from Wisdom to Baked when that was out. That was 2014.
Yeah.
And then Left Hand Pass, that was the album we saw them on.
Yep.
And, like, that, like, those two albums are, like, a step up from each other.
Yes, definitely. Oh, yeah. Each album, especially in the last three, I think you hear dramatic steps up. And I think the last two might be my favorite they've released so far, for sure.
Yeah. I just, like, to me, I'm a fan of the titles and stuff.
Oh, the titles, the song titles, the lyrics are... Dude, I read there's a song on that album about the nug that is so vile coming to Earth, and it is just incredible. It's, dude, it's another level.
Yeah.
It's outstanding.
I have heard, like, just nothing from this album.
It's awesome, dude. You gotta check it out.
Spend some time with it, yeah.
Yes. Definitely.
November 1st. That was
recently. It came out recently, and I didn't even get it until recently, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I've probably only had it less than a month. But yeah, outstanding album. If you've never heard of Cannabis Corpse, check them out for sure. It's amazing. Nug So Vile, November 1st, Season of Mist. One of my. I mean, you could call it one of my favorite. Definitely call it one of my favorite death metal albums of the year. So there you go.
Oh yeah.
Your number 10, sir.
So I'm going to go a little more along the hardcore side. We're going to get back into America. Because I feel... Well, no, the last band was California. I don't know. We've been all over the globe for this one.
Yeah, we have Italy, Greece, fucking Norway.
Yep. So I'm gonna take it to a hardcore band that I only recently got a little bit more into. I was a fan of the last album, but not as much as this one, just because of by the time I got to the last album, it was like kind of everywhere. Okay. And like I really liked it, but I also kind of found other things that I was more into. And like I said, kind of this year was definitely the year of like just aggressive music for me, I guess, in more of kind of a traditional sense and more of like a simplistic sense. In some ways, I feel like it's either this or like, crazy stuff, I guess. I don't know. But I don't know. I guess to go on, I'm talking about Knocked Loose. Talk about A Different Shade of Blue.
All right.
Interesting. It was released August 23rd, so that was a little bit later. It was one that I didn't know I was excited for until because they released a couple of singles. It was And Still I Wander South and Mistakes Like Fractures. Mm-hmm. They put out 2 videos for it, and the more I listened to those songs, like I just kept going back to them. I really liked just the darker atmosphere to them. There was a lot more. I don't know. There was just a lot more. Just kind of more like I don't want to say like feeling to it, because there's definitely a lot of feeling to their older albums, but it's different. It's more like there's an urgency to it, I guess, but it's also done in a way that's it's very anxious almost. In a kind of darker sense in a lot of ways, because there's a lot of stuff on here that on the last album I feel like they didn't really touch on. Like I felt like for what they were capable of and for what they did on the first record, which came out, I'm not really sure when it was. Let me see, 2016. So it's been about 3 years between the two of them. And there was a lot of stuff on it that I really liked. There was a lot of cool songs on it, but I didn't feel like it quite grabbed me in the same ways that this one did. This has a lot more of like a darker kind of vibe to it. I know it was on Clint's list. We talked about it a little bit. Kind of said a lot about it on that one, but I don't know. There's just the middle half of the album towards the end of it, man. Just there's In the Walls, Guided Moon, Mistakes Like Fractures, all those songs like just have this feeling about them that's like just kind of like, I don't know, it's just kind of like dirty, I guess, and
nice.
Like kind of just like darker to me, which is cool. So yeah, it just, I don't know, like towards the end of it, just, I mean, And Still I Wander South is track 10 of 12, and it definitely kind of sets you in the mood for the last half of it, for the last 3 songs. Set aside the fact that it's a single, which is kind of weird that it's kind of so far down into the album. There's a song on it called Forget Your Name. It's got Keith Buckley from Every Time I Die on it.
Oh, cool.
I'm a huge fan of that band, so it was cool to hear them kind of do that style, and especially because they're more of like a, I don't want to say like a party rock band, because they're not really. Because they're kind of, I don't know. But regardless, I don't know. If you've heard Every Time I Die, you know what I'm talking about. Like, they're not really one sort of thing. Like, they're not a metal band, but they're also not, like, a rock band. They're kind of in between there a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was cool to hear them do that kind of style, especially on this, because it's very, like, in your face and aggressive and stuff, which is cool. So yeah. And I don't know if I mentioned it, was produced by Will Putney.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Who's
cool.
done
everything.
Pretty much all my favorite albums this year, yeah. With the exception of a few. Like a lot of the ones I've talked about haven't had him on it, but within the last decade, man, he's produced some of like some staples for sure. So yeah, A Different Shade of Blue, Knocked Loose
is number 10 for you.
Yep.
Excellent. On to number 9. All right, number 9. Here we go. My number 9 is, this album in part decided when we were going to do this episode, because we ended up I wanted to wait till after this album came out on December 13th through Stillborn Records. Motherfucking Jasta's Lost Chapters Part 2. Oh my god.
Yep.
I fell in love with this album so much more than I ever anticipated, because like it really is not, it is a metal album without question, but it's a collection of different sounds, that's for sure. And like on first listen you might feel like I did, and it kind of feels like a collection of songs as opposed to a cohesive piece, but once you sit down and read the lyrics and read the lyric book and discover that each song is related to one or a couple quotes that like are in the booklet before each song lyric section. It kind of gives a new perspective, and it all kind of really starts to come together on the album. And the guest list is unfucking believable. Corpse Grinder, Max Cavalera. Where's the album? I just had it. Oh, is that it right there? Yeah. Here we go. We got Corpse Grinder, Max Cavalera, Jesse Leach, Zoli Teglas, Matthew K. Heafy, Kirk Winstead, Howard Jones, Billy Bio, Frank Palmieri, Phil Rind, Tommy Victor, and Joey Concepcion. Crazy. Every fucking track has an insane guest on it. And I really feel like all of them were... It's some of my favorite performances from any of them individually. You know what I mean?
That's fair. Yeah.
Like Howard Jones's performance was amazing. Fucking Corpse Grinder was outstanding. Like
that's the album opener too.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I'm still going back to it every day because I've had it for less than 2 weeks, and it is extremely melodic. It's very catchy. It's, I would say, one of, if not the most accessible album Jasta has ever written.
Yeah.
But I don't think that in doing that he sacrificed any of the heavy or any of the lyrical poignancy that I've at least come to know him for, and it's outstanding. I fucking love it. The Bellatani, Charlie, and who's the guitarist and the drummer from Sorrow, Kingdom of Sorrow?
Oh,
and Jasta. The Bellatani, what are they? God damn it!
I'm not sure of the drummer, but
Belmore. Wait,
Charlie Belmore.
Charlie and Nick Belmore. Yeah, that's it. Belmore, not Bell. What the fuck was I talking about?
I thought that was Anthrax.
Who
am I thinking of?
Who am I thinking of?
Hang on.
Shows how much we know. And I literally just did the review for this earlier today. Like, this is insane. Hold on, though. I got this. Yeah, Nick and Charlie Belmore. Yeah. They're the guys from Sorrow and everything. Anyway. Outstanding record. And
if you play on D. Snutter too.
Yeah. And if you haven't heard this record, check it out. I think there's a lot for every kind of listener on it. Honestly, and I love it top to bottom. I've really been blasting it top to bottom. But it is an album that is full of what could be singles too, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For sure.
I felt the same way about it as I did the first Jasta record.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a little bit less so on this one, just because I feel like there was so much of it that came out early that I feel like it wasn't as much of a as much of like a shock, I guess, because I feel like it was like 4 or 5 songs off the top that were pre-released before it came out and stuff, as either singles or as like, you know,
for subscribers to Gas Digital. Yeah,
maybe that could be too. So I felt in a sense kind of not. I don't want to say spoiled by that, but just I had a different perspective of it. Like there wasn't as much, I guess, that kind of drew me to it initially, but after hearing it, just as you know, kind of as a whole, and just getting back into the idea of, you know, these being songs that Jasta wrote just as, you know, just to be like standalone songs with people that, you know, influential musicians and vocalists in the, you know, in the metal and heavy music genre. I feel like I have a bit more of a, you know, I feel like I can enjoy it a little bit more, you know, and I guess at very most it kind of ties me over until the next Hatebreed record.
Oh yeah. Hatebreed 2020, here we come.
Yeah, man. Because I feel like there's gonna be a lot of stuff that, I mean, like it's kind of tough to say because I feel like there was stuff on the album that was before the first Jasta. I think it was it's not Concrete Confessional, it was the one before that.
Oh shit! Divinity of Purpose? No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot of stuff on that I feel like kind of like overlaps from the first Jasta album.
Okay.
And I feel like there's a lot. Like I'm not quite as surprised when, you know, when he's at maybe a little bit less than most people when, you know, when they hear, you know, him doing more like singing stuff rather than like harsh, you know, yelling stuff for Hatebreed, I guess. Like it's two different things, and now it's a little easier to kind of hear that and listen to it and appreciate it for that rather than just wanting to hear Hatebreed songs or with other people, I guess. So.
Yeah.
But having said that, yeah, I think it's great. I think it's awesome.
Solid, and definitely was gonna make a spot on my top list. Like it was just, I love it.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely fucking love it. So that's it. Just the Lost Chapters Part 2, out December 13th, number 9, off Stillborn Records on my list. How about yours?
So I got kind of an interesting one. It's one that when I first heard it, I remember sending to you guys, to you and Preston, and I remember sending to the band and being like, this is the heaviest thing I've heard all year up to this point.
Oh, shit.
And it still stands up to me, honestly.
As one of the heaviest things?
Yeah. Wow. Like sonically, music-wise, vocally, everything. And it's such a, and the more I found out about it, the more I kind of appreciated about it, and the more I was able to, kind of, and that's kind of why I earned this spot, because as I didn't really listen to it maybe as much as the others, I still feel like every time I did, it was like, it was still just that like punch, I guess. And it's,
hell yeah,
it's more of that. I guess this one is more of, I would say more deathcore, kind of, in a weird sort of way. It's hard to explain because it's an interesting record, I guess. But I'm gonna talk about Cursed Earth, a band called Cursed Earth. They released a album called The Deathbed Sessions, and what's interesting about it is they are from Perth, Australia, hardcore, I guess.
Going down under.
Yeah,
excellent.
And there's a couple of Aussie bands on this list. But yeah.
Yes, there are.
So, they released this Deathbed Sessions, and what's interesting about it is when it came out, I knew nothing about it. I didn't even know that this band existed.
Oh wow.
They released a first album that's called Cycles of Grief, with an original singer. It was in 2017. And I guess I'm not sure if it was. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it would have. I guess it would have had to have been this year or last year. So 2018. I guess their vocalist left, and they decided to do something that's kind of unheard of. It's kind of interesting. They put out a mixtape, or just I guess like a, I don't know, like a 7-song EP or 7-song album, I guess. Because mixtape doesn't really make much sense in the traditional metal sense. It's all the same as far as like the musicians that played on it, but they got 7 different vocalists to do each song.
Oh wow.
There's Larissa from Venom Prison, who are huge. Joel Birch from Amity Affliction. Nick Adams from Justice for the Damned. Brooke, Niall, and Sean from Make Them Suffer. And Mark, who was formerly, I guess he just left Aversion's Crown. And then Jake McDonald from Cast Down. And then also Matt Honeycutt from another hardcore band that I got into. Their album's also on this list. Kublai Khan.
Oh, nice.
There's an energy behind this record that is so like aggressive, just from the overall sound of the guitars to just the way that it's all written, that just like it punches you in the face and just continues to just like lay into you, I guess. Like I don't know, like it's one of those that like there's certain songs and certain moments that like you just, it's that moment right before you go into a mosh pit, or like you're like standing on the outside where you decide like you are without a doubt like in it.
Coming out of mosh pit.
Yeah, and like there's a lot of moments on it where it just like you hear it and it just instantly just makes you want to like just throw stuff and just like
destroy everything.
Yeah, call back to the Hatebreed thing. So yeah, it's cool. Like it's different to me. Like I didn't really know much about it. Like the reason that I first kind of got into it was the singer, the first song Fear. It was the first single they put out. It's got like I said, Matt from Kublai Khan on it. And initially I thought that it was just like a side project from him, but the more I kind of like looked into it and the more I was listening to it, I was like, man, like not only do I recognize some of the vocals that are on here, but this is kind of what I would wish that like some of these vocalists would have done in the first place. Like, cause it's all very like, I guess in the span of like style of music, like it fits what they're capable of, but it's also kind of like more towards, what they're going for as this, what is Cursed Earth, I guess. Which is really cool because it's, it kind of keeps you on, on your toes a little bit in terms of like what you're listening to from these vocalists. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's really cool. I feel like there's a lot of, like I said, it came out, I think, when did I say? May 31st. So it was like mid part of the year. And I just remember coming across it and just, it's like I've gone back to it multiple times. It's one of those that like, I need something that's just like, just in the mood to hear just something just aggressive, I guess. Like that's the one I tend to go back to a lot. So, and it's interesting that we talked about both Josta and this one in the same vein because in a sense they're kind of, I guess, like the band members are the same, but the vocalist is different, whereas the vocalist is the same, but a lot of the members are different for the Jost album in kind of a weird way.
Yeah, there's a lot of different singers on it too,
Yeah.
obviously, but yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, like it's not quite a like a like I guess traditional like super group, I guess, if you want to call it that. It's more of just kind of a project band, I guess. That's kind of the impression I got from it. I could be wrong about that. I don't really know a whole lot about this band. So yeah, I would check it out.
Oh yeah.
If you're into that kind of sound.
You know, I just realized something kind of weird about this list, especially in comparison to last year. There's nothing, at least on mine, that would be considered like from the old guard. Like last year we had Dee Snider, we had Judas Priest. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Like that. I got nothing on my list of like older bands from like the 80s and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Other than there's one on here that, but I mean they're like 90s, like 93 I think was the first. So we'll talk about it. And
I don't know. I just realized that.
Yeah, that is interesting, especially because a lot of the lists that I saw, especially the banger list for some reason, it all had that like, I guess. I wasn't paying attention to it mostly because, I mean, for various reasons. Main one being I just wasn't interested in looking into that sound or finding that sound. I was kind of more into this kind of style, but like there was a lot of that like, traditional like old school like heavy metal revival kind of thing going on. At least what I got the impression from. You know what I mean? Like there was as far as like the from the banger review of like the albums of the year and stuff. I guess there was a lot of stuff that kind of had that traditional sound to it.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying.
But as far as like older bands that have put stuff out this year, I can't really think of too many that really. I feel like that was a lot of last year's list, kind of like you said.
Yeah.
So that is
It's weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Number 8. And this one, I'm actually really excited to talk about. Came out on, I believe, Legend Records on June 28th. This album has been, from the moment I saw the cover art, it was pretty much, and then when I listened to it, I put out a review for it. It is absolutely one of my favorite albums of the year. Blows me away every time I go back to it. The Convalescence, Monument of Misery. Convalescence, I believe, is out of Toledo? Something like Northern Ohio or Southern Michigan, one of the two. I don't really know. Somewhere over there.
Yeah.
Oh my God, though. Like this album, their last album was fantastic, but the step up on this one is I didn't see it coming, and B, it's just outstanding. Like it is a relentless piece of work, and it is like how to describe it. If you like bands like Dahlia and Battle Cross, but give it a little extra black metal in there sometimes, a little extra symphonic maybe.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, just a sprinkling.
They are from Toledo.
All right. Yeah, and that's what you'll get with Convalescence, and they put on a monstrous live show, and this album It just rocked me. It really did. Like a non-stop fucking brutal. Like just, yeah, elements of thrash, black and death. Everything just rolled into this fucking like snowball of misery.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Oh yeah.
It's fucking,
man.
Oh,
I admittedly, and I say this every time you bring this up, and
I
it's only it's only because every time that like we're chilling or whatever, this band always seems to come up. But dude, like everything I've heard off of it is like just there. I don't know, like
evil.
man, like there's a feeling to it, and like
Yes.
there's so much that you can just like, you know, like nod your head to even.
Yes.
Or just kind of like, you know, but there's also, I feel like their songs move really well.
Yes.
And that's the
I
thing.
agree.
That's the thing I always come back to, and that always sticks with me whenever I hear them. Is there's always, you know, there's the riff, you know, there's the main riff that happens, but there's so much else that it kind of moves into that, like, you know, towards the end, like every song feels like it has a consistent, you know, idea to it, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So
They are just, you know,
yeah.
I love it so much. This new album has been blowing me away, and highly recommend you checking out the Convalescence. Definitely.
It's really, really sick live band.
They are ripping up the Midwest lately
Yeah.
on tour. Like they are nonstop.
Seems like they were on like or opening or like, you know, headlining either their own tour or like, you know, opening for everybody this year.
Everybody for the last like 2 years.
Yeah,
now.
really seems
everybody.
like it.
Everybody. It's insane. They're outstanding. They're working real hard, and they're a big band. They got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in the band, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. So yeah, and they're just outstanding. Oh man.
That
Just
album debuted at
chaos.
number 3 on iTunes. That's cool.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hitter, man.
Yeah.
Lots of great movement in the songs. Yeah, it sounds evil, but it's nonstop headbanging. Yeah, you hit it on the head with that. That's fucking, it's outstanding. Mountain of Misery, Convalescence. It came out June 28th on Legend Records. Check them out on Bandcamp. Next one up, number 7. No, wait, you're number 8 now. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're number 8. Throwing it over to you.
So we are going to South Africa for this
Holy
one.
fucking, we're going around the goddamn world.
Yeah, man.
Expensive episode.
Yeah, covering a lot of ground, getting them frequent flyer miles.
Yeah, Jesus.
This is a band that I got into I guess maybe within the span of the last album, this album, I feel like I got more into them.
Okay.
The last album called Psychosadistic Design was 2016. They are a slam band from South Africa. Like I said, I'm talking about Volvodania.
Hell yeah.
They released a record this year called Mob Justice.
Mm-hmm. That was a big one.
Yeah.
Lots of people talking about this album.
Yeah, off Lacerated Enemy, which is a super sick label. They have a lot of really solid bands coming out. They put out a ton of stuff this year. And they're just pretty much like the front runners of the, you know, the slam death metal, you know, extreme stuff that's come out. A lot of the more current stuff. So yeah, this one, man, like it's cool to see the progression of this band. I feel like that's the thing that stands out to me the most on it. Psychosadistic Design was a very, like, I mean, as slam as you could possibly get. Like, it's pretty, like, there's a lot of, like, just gnarly sounds on it. The album opens with just this, like, I don't even really know how to describe it. It's just this, like, I don't know. Like, it looks like how the cover looks on it. Uh-huh. I guess is the way I could describe it. So it's very, like, I don't know, it's very gross. It's very, you know, all that kind of style. So, I mean, and they're a couple of, put out, so 2014 they formed. So they're a fairly new band for the decade. First album came out 2014. And it was a little more like technical. It was a little more tech death kind of stuff, but also keeping that like slam with the slam elements to it. But this one, dude, I heard the title track off of it, and like it's another one that's like my favorite of the year. I keep going back to that song. It has such a like, I don't know, like just visually, they've kind of taken a step back from the, the over the top, like super grotesque kind of like, violent, brutal vocals, and like, I mean, it's still there for sure as far as like the lyrics and stuff, but it's a lot more centered towards like what's happening in their, in their part of the world. There's a lot of songs. I mean, Mob Justice in itself, is about, burning people and, like a lot of that kind of thing, like capital punishment kind of stuff. There's a song called Niobe that's about, or Naope, I'm not really sure. Sorry about that. That's about this this drug that's in South Africa that kind of like eats you from the inside out.
Jesus.
Kind of, and like the whole video is about somebody like taking it, kind of like them seeing like these kind of crazy things and stuff. And so I mean, I guess like the first thing that got me excited about it was they put out a EP or single rather that had God, I can't even pronounce that, yeah, I don't know. You just have to look at it.
Good
I guess.
try.
Yeah, Anthropophagus, I think.
Anthropophagus.
Yeah. So they had, it was a 3-song EP, and from the start, I was like, man, this is like, I'm so excited about this. And that was May 17th. And then the full thing came out, let's see, June 30th.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, man, like it's, I can see where, I guess people that kind of enjoyed their earlier stuff, I feel like had a little bit of an issue with this one because it wasn't quite as over the top, as far as like the lyrics and as far as just being like that slam kind of thing.
Psychotic slam.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
I get it.
So yeah. Mob Justice, man. It's gnarly. Check it out.
It's Gnarl City.
Yeah.
So does that mean we're on number 7?
I guess so, yeah.
Oh, number 7. Absolutely, for me, one of the nearest and dearest albums to my heart so far this year. This year at all, period. It is the first ever release from this band from Brazil. Again, all over the fucking world tonight, dude. Jesus.
Was it Insight from Brazil?
Oh, check that. They might be from
like,
down there.
Yeah.
Check
Just,
that.
I'm making the connection between everybody, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, good call on that. Good call. Because obviously SoFi was.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's from down there, but I don't know if Insight the band formed there. Anyway.
Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, okay.
So no.
The band I'm talking about, however, released their first album independently this year on January 1st. So this album is almost a year old now. Had a whole year to sit with it. Discovered it a little bit later in the year, of course. I'm talking about Savage's New Dimensions. Odds are most of you have never heard of this band unless you saw me do the review of it earlier this year. But oh my God. Like, it is just nonstop headbanging, nonstop brutality, nonstop fun. The riffage is outsane. Like they're all using these crazy ass like 9,000 fret 800 string guitars, and it's like it's crazy, dude. Like another one I would probably describe. You can hear heavy groove metal influence. You can hear heavy Iron Maiden influence. You can hear also heavy Swedish death metal influence. Things like Arch Enemy, Carcass, for sure. Definitely death metal influence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They are just the complete package, and they have just raw fuck. Like for this to be, and I think I said it in the review. If I were to make my first album, this is probably what I would want it to sound like. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just so fucking awesome. Like it has all of the elements that I love. Like they sound like they listen to all the shit that I love, basically.
Yeah.
From Iron Maiden to Lamb of God. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
And yeah, it just outstanding album. They had to be in my top, and yeah, basically the rest of the albums from here on out are like the heaviest hitters in the game right now. So like besides those ones, they're the top of the year for sure in that context for me. Like outstanding work especially when you look at it, it's their first album. I can't fucking, can't wait to see what else they do. But this album blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. I highly recommend everyone looking up Savages, Savagez, New Dimensions.
Talked about them a lot this year.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
they're cool. I feel like when you showed them to me, I was like there's a lot of like death and like influence to it.
Yes.
That like
They did a death cover.
yeah, which is I mean any band that's gonna do that like as sick in my book.
Respect.
Man. Like yeah, because that's hard.
Very.
You know?
Very.
So for a band to come out like that, especially to have this is their first album.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's I mean, you know.
Yeah.
That's an impressive amount of, musicianship and,
They're just very talented.
yeah.
You can hear it. You can really hear it.
It's crazy
Very
that
talented people.
there's so many bands like that have released like one album and maybe like, an EP and like they're so good, but you don't understand why they're not like more well known. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I get it. Like when you release one, it's hard for it to catch. You know what I mean? You got to have the right number of people talking about it. People like us sharing it with each other, talking about it on the podcast, and and then even us, like we're not big, obviously, you know what I'm saying? Like people, we hope eventually spread word of mouth about this. That's what we're hoping for with this. So it's all the same thing. You know what I mean? It's, so I get it, but I'm glad we find what we find. And it always keeps me forever excited to keep finding more. You know what I'm saying? Because I know what's out there.
Yeah.
Savages, New Dimensions. Check that shit out, people. It's a fucking banger. You're going to love it. I'll say this. If you like Arch Enemy and Lamb of God, you'll love this.
That's a fair comparison.
Yeah.
That's a fair.
Yeah.
I can see both those influences.
Yeah. Heavy, for sure. So you're number 7, sir. I'm going to go fix this, so you just talk real quick.
So 7 is a band that a lot of people have talked about this year, and I feel like there's a lot of hype around this band for various amount of reasons. They came out in 2009. They're from Sweden. I guess it was a project from a guitar player that was in a band called Village of Harta.
Did you say Sweden?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yep. Swedish deathcore, which is kind of odd when you consider what else has come out of this, come out of that area. They released a couple of albums. 2011 was the first one. I'm going to talk about a band called Humanity's Last Breath. They released an album called Abyssal this year. It's as far as, modernized deathcore goes with some really cool sounds come in, as far as, just backing sounds and just crazy, vocals and, just solid song structures all the way through. And just they're really good at building this big atmosphere that kind of just crushes you, which is awesome. Because a lot of times, you start off with the one song, and then it kind of lets up a little bit. But this one, like it is from the first song to the 12th. It's, it just doesn't let up, and it's, just musically everything else. Like they put out a couple of videos that have been really solid. Couple of standout tracks. Abyssal Mouth is really sick. There's a video for it. There's one called Fragda, or yeah, I don't know, Swedish. So bear with me. Pulsating Black is really sick. Like they do a lot of, like I said, a lot of guitar stuff. There's a lot of effects and a lot of just, like ear candy stuff and a lot of things that really fills out the sound really well.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of makes the songs really interesting. They're one of those bands that with every album that they've put out, at least I think with the last one, they did an instrumental for each song.
Nice.
So there's, if you're not so much a fan of the vocalist, which, is fair, because, there's a lot of, I guess with deathcore, like that's something that I feel like I hear a lot. People are really into the music, but not so much about the vocals and stuff. And this, I'll say, if that's your style, then this has a lot to offer without that. But also, like if you're into it, there's a lot of really cool, lyrics and a lot of cool things that stick with you, and just things that, there's a couple of songs. I think I want to say Pulsating Black first time I heard that, like it starts with this like sporadic like blast beat thing that happens. Like it's very stop and go kind of feel to it. It's really cool. It's one of the more standout songs. It's in the middle of the album. I kind of wish more bands were a bit more, at least with this style of music, wish were a bit more kind of like this, because I feel like there's a bit more technicality to it than just, chugs and, that kind of different, patterns and stuff like that. So yeah, this one's off Unique Leader. They put out, like I said, 2 other albums up to this point, 2 albums and EP, I think. I first kind of got into them. It was, I think, 2011. Structures Collapse came out. That was when I first got into them on. And it was cool, but you could tell that they kind of were still trying to find that niche, that sound, And it wasn't until 2013 they released their self-titled that they just took off. And there's a lot of really cool, really sick songs on this one as well that kind of are like staples to them at this point. So yeah, I don't know. If you know about them, then you know pretty much what I'm talking about. So yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Awesome.
I'm excited about the fact that there's so much happening in the way of like deathcore and like death metal, because I feel like for the longest time it was very one-sided. It was very like I wouldn't say uninteresting, but there was a lot of the same kind of stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like this year especially, well, I guess over the last, I don't know, let's say like 5 years, at least to me, it seems like there's been a lot of bands that have sort of taken deathcore and stretched it to lengths of, like adding in, slam elements or black metal elements to it and stuff, and just make it so much more than that. Because there's something kind of crazy that happens when you put like weird kind of I guess like sounds and like backing stuff over top of just like what would be a traditional like chug pattern back in 2008 or whatever, you know what I mean? Like like that, like if this kind of thing would have started to happen as far as using other sounds and kind of making this kind of world happen as you're listening to it, rather than just having it just be stupid heavy, I guess. I don't know, it just, to me, I feel like it adds a whole lot more to the sound than what it has before, and I think I don't know, I'm really excited about the future of this style. So
hell yeah, man. Well, here, cheers to that.
Hey.
Cheers. Ooh, number 6. 6, the number of the beast. Oh man, can you imagine if it was like, what year did that come out? Like 1981, 1984, something like that. If it was that year, that album, dude.
I'll talk about some classics.
Dude, what if we did that? What if we did like album of the year, Filthy 15's like retrospectives, and we did like of 1984 and like of like 2005 and like the year Ashes came out and shit, because I think that came out like the same year as like,
dude, there was that year
Fury of Our Maker's Hand and like Are You Dead Yet and like chaos, dude. Some of those early 2000s.
That could be cool.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
At the same time, though, I feel like there would be a lot of, kind of, because I feel like over the course of the last, like, how long we've been doing this, I feel like we've hit a lot of the
we have already
the staple
talked
records already.
a lot about a lot of those. It would still be cool though.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we will. Maybe we'll just like throw a fucking knife at a calendar and pick a year and just do one to see how it is.
Yeah.
We
down for that. Yeah.
Number 6. First one off my list from Metal Blade Records, which is kind of surprising to me. Out May 3rd, The Berserker from a Monomoth.
Fuck
Vikings.
Yeah, man.
Raise the shield wall, motherfucker, because we're going crazy.
That's all we really need to say about this one.
Fafner. Fafner did not fare so well, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got here. Fafner's Gold, Crack the Sky, Mjolnir Hammer, Thor, Shield Wall, Ravens Fight, Ironside. Oh my god, dude! Skull and Haji, Wings of Eagles, Into the Dark. Hey, Lost into the Dark. This album blew me away, and I was a gigantic fan of Yom's Viking. Still am. And Deceiver of the Gods, and so many of their albums. But this one, like, for them to put out something this strong, still, to me, really, they haven't lost a beat. This is not a concept album. However, it does have a small concept over the course of a few songs on the album.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is kind of like just like their own tracks, but yet the entire album still has that just awesome, triumphant, up, like throw your fucking horns in the air feel to it. That is why we love Amon Amarth. You know what I'm saying? That's what we go for, pretty much. So. Yeah, this album was outstanding, and I just wish that they had fucking come to Michigan on the headlining tour.
Yeah.
But outside of that, killer. And we did get to see him with Slayer, so.
Yeah. I mean, what's better than that, really?
Right?
Honestly.
Yeah, we saw the full fucking Viking ship.
Yeah. See, that was... No, that wasn't...
What?
Who was... Yeah, it was...
Slayer, Cannibal, Lamb of God, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Behemoth.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? I don't know.
No, well, I'm getting this one and the Slipknot Gojira
Behemoth
show mixed up.
That's because there was the same band on both of them. Behemoth was on both of them, I think.
Oh, anyway, I feel it's very possible. Honestly, I don't. Yeah,
that's funny though. But yeah, that album, Berserker, I loved it.
I mean, like just more staple songs from him, and honestly, I feel like it's a better album than they've released in the last couple.
I liked Yom's Vikings a lot.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But this one, I feel like this one had just a pretty different, feeling to it. It was very much like kind of a return to form for them in a sense,
Yeah. Hold on 1 second. Let me see here. Oh, I'm trying to make sure. Yep, Amon Amarth, Cannibal Corpse, and Lamb of God and Slayer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Behemoth wasn't on it. That's right.
Yeah, they were on the Slipknot.
Yeah. Okay, but Behemoth was there when I saw the first leg of the Slayer tour. That's why I thought that. There we go.
That's right.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Cleared that up. But yeah, it's got everything that I want out of a Amon Amarth album. Maybe. Yeah. No, it really does. It really does. Like it might. It hasn't. Yeah. No, it's pretty much stuck with me all year. I keep going back to it. I keep banging my fucking head off. And it's outstanding. It's a great album. I really, really like it. So if you're a fan of Amon Amarth and Viking metal, Metal Blade Records, number 6, my choice was Amon Amarth Berserker for this year's Filthy 15.
I definitely have because this was the year that they put out that...
that live thing.
Yeah, with the documentary about them.
Yeah.
And that really, they're a band I've had a lot of, I've been into them in the past, obviously, but like this one and kind of figuring out, just all about their history and stuff this year, like really kind of, solidified them as definitely one of the top bands of, I guess of the genre right now. Definitely.
They are one of the heaviest hitters going right now, for sure.
And they just, even if you don't really listen to a whole lot of metal, like I feel like, they say it in the, documentary, they're the Viking band.
Yeah.
Like they're, they've got that thing about them.
You can listen to them if you're just really into drinking too.
Yeah. Hey, and we have many a time. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. We've drank many. There's this one band called like Korplakani or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
They just released a song called Jägermeister.
Oh, really?
Jägermeister. Jägermeister. It's awesome.
Oh,
we should start every episode with that song. Sick. Your number 6, sir.
So my number 6 is a band out of Chicago. I I guess to their description, they're a progressive metal band out of Chicago. They had their first album that came out in 2016, December 20th. They played Michigan Metal Fest the same year that we did. I think the last year or the first year that we played. I'm not really sure. It's a band called Hive. They put out a EP this year, oddly enough, around the same time that we were re-releasing our Viscera EP.
Oh, nice.
Which is why this is so fond to me.
Oh, yeah.
Because they did it in a way that's really kind of interesting and kind of different from the way everybody else did it, or at least to my understanding, or just from what I've seen. So each song they have a visual for, and they put the video up on YouTube. They did each like a different kind of visual, but it's all for the same story. I guess there's a whole like overlapping story to it. So it's all kind of the same like visuals and stuff, but so they released each song 1 week, or no, I think every Friday, like 5 Fridays up until the full release of it, which I thought was really cool because it kind of keeps like that, keeps you kind of like wondering like what the next one is, or kind of like, just gives you more content, more stuff to listen to. And this one, I was pretty big into their first EP, even though it was only 4 songs. It's really like, just crushing deathcore kind of stuff. This one, it's a little bit more groove related. There's a lot. It's kind of and I guess in a sense, the Humanity's Last Breath and this band kind of had their similarities in the way that the guitars are very, very much the forefront and the focus of it. There's a lot of timing stuff that's happening. There's a lot of like crazy sounds and a lot of like, pedal work and stuff that's happening that just adds to that overall, just like super thick kind of sound that just kind of like, I don't know, crawls, I guess. That makes sense. Like there's a lot of, there's blast beats to it, but it's kind of, I don't know, it's a little more like down tempo kind of stuff that you kind of like, groove to, but it's also, I don't know, just like chaotic, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. The thing that kind of kept me going back to it is just that, I guess it's kind of the same thing. Kind of like what I was saying with the last band. Just that it's the sound. It's that, when you start it puts you in that place where, you're in that world, and that's, they do a really solid job of painting this picture of just, this crazy, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could look up the artwork and stuff for it, but it's very like,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
a lot of the visuals have that same kind of coloring and that same kind of design to it and stuff. And so, yeah. I don't know. It's been a long time since they've released anything. I think their last, like I said, 2016. And then the last single, I believe, was, 2018. So June 5th.
Oh, wow.
So it's been quite a while, but they've definitely been working on new stuff. And so it's cool to see them, release like a full, the next collection of songs from them.
Yeah.
Especially after the first one I was so fond of. And so, yeah.
Awesome.
Hive, man.
Hive, number 6, which brings us to our top 5. Oh, shit. We're in the final stretch now. Top 5 albums.
He's pretty interesting.
Non-stop hitters.
Yeah, man.
Non-stop brutality hitters.
Oh, quick, really? Quick thing about the Hive band real quick.
Yeah.
I'm going to double check this and make sure. Yeah, so I guess that's true. I just reading this now. The Mirthless Kind, I don't know if I mentioned the title of it, was the Hive record. And it was produced by mixed mastered by Daniel DL, who was the Acacia Strain's old guitar player.
Oh, wow.
So that makes a lot of sense in terms of the production of it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So, yeah.
Nice.
I was just looking up on their website. So, yeah, the Mirthless Kind.
Nice. Shout out to Hive.
Anyway.
The Chicago band.
Yep.
So number 5 for me, March 8th, Nuclear Blast Records, one of my all-time favorite bands, Rest in Peace, Children of Bodom, released their 9th studio album or something, Text. It definitely, it really, for the musicianship on this album, really impressed me. They definitely, it has a very different feel than like any other Bodum album. It's a lot lighter. You know what I mean? It has a lot more lighter moments, a lot more kind of like almost airing sometimes on like a more rocky side. Slightly.
Yeah.
I guess you can just hear the more like 80s metal influence coming through a lot. But you know, as a piece in top to bottom, I thought it was very outstanding. There were a lot of tracks on it that I really keep going back to constantly. Is it one of my all-time favorite Bodum albums? Probably not. But I definitely keep going back to it, and considering it's the last Bodum album with the true lineup that we're going to get. So, you know, it's always, and we met him on this tour.
Yeah.
So this album will always hold a very special place in my heart. Another thing I love about it is the cover art, because it was actually a painting that they had commissioned, you know, so I think that's fucking awesome. But yeah, you know, I thought it was a great album, and I don't see it getting as much love as I think it really actually deserves, because there really is some impressive musicianship throughout this album, especially on certain tracks. Here, let me see here. Like, I mean, the singles are really great. The Road, Platitudes of Barren Words.
I
but
like that one.
yeah, I love that track. But yeah, Under Grass and Clover. Hecate's Nightmare is a super weird song, but it's awesome. Kickin' a Spleen could be like right at home on any other Bodum record. And kind of Knuckle Duster. Knuckle Duster is actually an old song that they redid for this one. But yeah, it really is a great fucking album. And, you know, as a Bodum fan, a diehard member of the Hate Crew, I like it a lot. And I thought it deserved a pretty high spot on my list for that reason.
So I guess I got two perspective questions for you.
Yeah.
So knowing, well, I guess going into it when you first heard it, does it change your opinion of it knowing that it's the last one? And I guess the follow up to that is, are you like not so much satisfied, but like knowing that this is the last one that they will make as this lineup, potentially ever, is it what you would like? Does it hit all those marks, or is it kind of lacking in that sense?
Okay.
Like,
so part one of that, it definitely gives me a different perspective on it, for sure.
Did you like it as much as you did before you found out about it, I guess?
Yeah. I still, because when it first came out, I really liked it a lot. I was listening to it to going to work every single day. I was like obsessed with it. And then when we saw him and everything, especially some of those songs live were outstanding.
That was when it really kind of
kicked in. Yeah. Second part of the question though, is it what I would have wanted knowing it's their last? No. You know what I mean?
That's a tough.
No, it's absolutely not. Like, just to be brutally honest, like I you know, as a fan, and I'm a dick, you know, I'm just a fucking fan. But as a fan, I would have, you know, wanted, quite frankly, some fan service. To be honest, I'd want something. One track very much in the vein of Hate Crew Death Roll. Another track very much in the vein of Are You Dead Yet? Another track very much in the vein of Lake Bodum and Follow the Reaper, and you know, so many other. God damn it! Why can't I think of Angels Don't Kill? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so many of the classics. I would want things that sounded more like that, as opposed to be totally honest, this album almost, in some ways, felt to me like it felt like it could end up having been looked back on as a bridge album. Like, they took this step, and then the next album is really where that new sound they were trying to go for came to fruition. That's I really, like, part of me thought that with this one. Apparently that next sound is them no longer working together and them doing different projects.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's interesting too because as I was listening to it, even like you could kind of tell there was a little conflict. Like there's as far as like creatively.
You
kinda
could
looking
probably
back
say
at it.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
with the new perspective, you could probably definitely say that. Yeah. Yeah.
And that was maybe that's the one thing that's kind of like, just not so much disappointed me, but I feel like I would have probably appreciated or just enjoyed it more if, because the last few have had solid songs on it. It's not to say they haven't. It's not to say there haven't been like some really I guess like traditional Bodum songs, but there wasn't the ones that like the newer like I don't know.
Yeah, there's not a lot of traditional Bodum songs on this album for sure.
It's all very
I'd say the last album that really had that from top to bottom was Halo of Blood.
That's
Brilliant album.
Yeah.
Love that album.
I Worship Chaos was good, but it didn't, kind of the same case.
Yeah, kind of a little bit,
Yeah.
Except I almost feel like this one even was more a step away from the original sound. You hear some of these tracks, and it really is like a very light feel to them. It's very different than anything else they've really done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sad we'll never get to see them again. They're a band. I have not missed a live Bodum show in Michigan since 2007.
Yeah.
It's been 12 years of every time they were here, I was there. And they were one of my favorite live bands of all time, one of my favorite bands of all time, and always will be. And I will follow Alexi Leho to the ends of the earth. He's one of my favorite guitar players of all time. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out. Cheers to Children of fucking Bodum, man.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
To the hate crew.
To the hate crew! We stand and we won't fall. Moving on to your number 5. This is the motherfucker. This is the hittiest of hitters.
Dude, let me tell you something.
Get ready to die.
Let me tell you something about this next band. They are very, very, very quickly becoming one of my all-time favorite bands. Everything that they've put out from my first record, I should go back since we've been talking about decades so much. One of my favorite bands of the decade, because they've released every album, in this decade from 2010 to this year. Yeah,
Okay.
Which is fucking wild when you think about it. Each one's different, even if they, I guess 2 albums in, they had a vocalist change, and that's always weird. That's always a hard thing to kind of get used to.
It's the hardest thing in any band, especially when you're 2 albums in. You feel like you're just getting a groove, and all of a sudden you got that big of a change.
Yeah.
It's about how many albums in did Cannibal have to switch? Like 3 or 4 or something like that.
Yeah, I think 4.
Pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to do.
Yeah, especially when you have such a sound that
that people like.
Yeah, and so not only did the vocalist change come with a style change, but it also kind of really set them up for what they ended up doing on this one. And I'm finally talking about See Your Tragic Beast by Fit for an Autopsy.
Yes.
It is, dude, from the very moment I knew they were putting out something new off the follow-up from The Great Collapse, which is still, like, I'm going to get that cover tattooed on me someday.
Oh, Black Mama.
Like, I've become such a huge fan of this band. Not only just in the style, like in the song style, but also just as a band. I think what they're doing is really cool for the scene and for the, as far as like modernized, like, I don't even like with this one, you can't even really call it deathcore, because to me it's just not.
I agree.
It has its elements of it, but it's so much more of a metal record to me.
Yeah.
And
I agree with that.
Whereas the last one, like, I guess like the biggest thing I could say is I think, well, I guess the 2 main differences between all right. Sorry, I'll back up. I'm rambling. I'll talk about the record, I guess. So See a Tragic Beast came out pretty recently. I'm not really sure when. really write the date down.
Here, you talk. I'll look at it.
So yeah. They released a couple singles off of it, and the first one was called Mirrors, and like I like that song honestly like means a whole lot to me. It's pretty just, you know, it just kind of there's a feeling to it. It's very like somber, but at the same time it's very like, you know, to a point where you can relate to it, you know. And, you know, I feel like that's kind of what this album is. I feel like a lot of the Great Collapse was very, I guess, more so centered around the concept of what was happening to the world. It was a very like worldly view of things. It was very like, this is what's wrong with everything. And this one to me feels like kind of the same kind of idea, but at the same time it feels like it's coming from more of a personal sense in a way. There's a lot of stuff on it that's, you know, is as punishingly heavy as their last albums, but there's also stuff that's, you know, really like almost like somber and really like, you know, just kind of mostly coming from the middle part of the album. There's a lot of like introspective kind of lyrics, and there's a lot of songs on it that feel like it's from the eyes of somebody that's like questioning, you know, their you know, what's happening, you know.
Okay.
And it's a very, you know, it just feels very like centered around that. But also, I mean, there's moments of it where it is one of the heaviest things I've ever written as far as like song wise. I think that I wasn't a big fan of Sea Tragic Beast when I first heard it as far as the single, the song goes. Mostly because I hadn't quite heard them use the singing in the same way as they have in that one. But I feel like hearing it throughout the record, because there's a lot of moments in it where they kind of go back to that, but it's all layered in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like all the vocals and stuff are very layered on top of each other, but it feels like, you know, they complement each other. It's not just like for the sake of having like super thick vocals. It's all like, you know, about adding to that atmosphere to it. And I feel like without it, it would be things that you could hear on the last album. So I feel like they made a pretty big stride in that, and I feel like they took a pretty big risk in that. There was a lot of that kind of element on Great Collapse, but it's more so on this one. Just it's more so like realized, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard an album like this that has made me just like, you know, I mean, like kind of a lot of the ones that you were talking about that just like I can't stop listening to it. Like it's, you know, it's that good, and it's that like it's catchy in a way. Like there's a lot of songs that have those really like anthemic kind of choruses to it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of songs that you stuck in your head. There's a lot of, you know, that ignorant kind of like hardcore, like, you know, like specifically Warfare.
Okay.
Like that song, just like Don't Be Around Me kind of style. Like
Crowd killer.
yeah, man. And like I guess like that kind of solidified with seeing them live, because they played like 5 or 6 songs off the new one, which is kind of crazy. And that was one of them, which I wasn't expecting, and that shit just got gnarly.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was cool to hear them play that, because you could just feel like, you know, just the, you know, the aggression in the room. Yeah. It's cool.
Fuck yeah, man.
So yeah, man, See Your Tragic Beast. It's just.
It came out October 25th. Sorry.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it was recent.
Yeah, very.
But
And yeah, that's one that really like I have not seen a band that young make these kind of waves in a long time.
Yeah.
They are the next. They're coming up right now. They're some of the next hitters. The shows we're seeing them at right now are insane.
Yeah.
They're insane.
Oh yeah.
So, and they're going to be looked back upon as such. You know, people are gonna be like, you saw them on the fucking See a Tragic Beast tour.
Yeah.
It's gonna be that for sure.
They're one of those bands that I feel like I've gotten more into as time's gone on, because I know that I've seen them live, and I know that like I've heard their albums, but I feel like this year specifically I've gotten, or I guess around like time that Great Collapse was coming out.
Yeah, they made huge waves with that Black Mammoth song and video.
And I feel like ever since then I've just been just getting really into them, because I feel like, you know, I mean, and especially looking at this top 5, there's a lot of bands that in this, and you know, just overall that we talked about that that are really like, it's not just pissed off heavy like Satan music anymore. It's like, I mean, parts of it still are. That's undeniable.
Of course. I have a band on this thing that's nothing about marijuana and violence.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but
it's there.
Yeah, but there's also the other side of it that's a little more conscious. That's a little more like, and I feel like a lot of that has to do with, you know, I mean, they didn't release anything this year, but Gojira, I feel like they kind of they were the band that really kind of got people to think about, and you know, Cattle especially. I mean, they got people to think about, you know, writing about different things, you know, in a more like.
That's interesting. So they're the ones that are doing that now.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because for I don't know, for me personally, at least at the time when I was getting into it, that's the sort of impact Ashes of the Weight had on me.
Yeah.
Because it was very politically driven, specifically for what was going on at that point in time.
Yeah.
At that point in time, I was very plugged into all of it. So, yeah, I get it. That's awesome. And it's a very good point. And I think Fit for an Autopsy is doing a really good job at that. And I think it's the first time we see this kind of these kind of lyrical themes happening in these sort of at least known to be deathcore bands. People like Fit for an Autopsy or Your Thy Art Is Murders, things like that.
Yeah.
I think they're all doing it.
Yeah.
You know, all the big hitters right now.
And I'll say that as far as like musically, there's so much cool stuff that happens on this that if you're not listening for it, you just miss it. Like there's so many.
It's layered.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like there's a lot of just the way that this like. Let me pull up because there's a few that if I could like cite. Let me see. Just like little like sounds, little things that so during Your Pain Is Mine, at the very end of it, there's that breakdown that happens, and there's this sound of feedback that happens, and it just kind of like it's underlying, but it kind of like carries the heaviness of it towards the very end of it, and eventually like fades out. And with things like I feel like this is an album that you appreciate more with headphones.
Oh, interesting.
At least what I found, because a lot of this stuff I didn't pick up until I heard it with headphones, kind of like actively listening to it. Especially Mirrors, like that last little breakdown.
Yeah.
There's a volume swell that happens with everything. I don't know if you picked up on it. It's like that last breakdown, like, you know, when it kind of like fades out and there's that little like drum build that happens.
Yeah.
There's this like the first line happens, that first section happens, and then they repeat it. The second half, like the music and the sound almost like picks up in volume a little bit, and it almost sounds like naturally distorted, and then it just stops. You know what I mean?
Wow.
It's really, really cool. There's a lot of other stuff on here that does that too as well, and it's just, I don't know. I just hadn't really heard that before, and I feel like, you know, people are gonna look back on what Will Putney, man, has done
Putney again.
He's the producer and guitarist for the band.
Yeah.
If you don't know that already, just things that he's done, and I'm pretty sure there's another album on here that he's produced and worked on that is, you know, kind of in the same vein of this. So it's just, I feel like, I don't know, it's just, I could talk all day about this album. I could talk all day about these top 5.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. So that's your number 5.
Yeah, man.
All right, Fit for an Autopsy.
Yep.
Now we get into, and this is part of the reason why our lists aren't in any specific order. These aren't like we're not ranking these albums. These are our top 15. These next 4, the final 4 are the 4 albums that Aaron and I that overlapped on both of our lists. So we figured we save these to talk about last. So that way we're not talking about them twice, right?
Yeah.
So these 4 are this is it. This is both of our final 4. We're not going to go back and forth anymore. These last 4 are it. So yeah, shit. Here we go. Let's get it going. Here we fucking go. Final four, number 4. Unbelievable. Now, honestly, this album could have, if we were ranking these albums, this one may have been my number 1, to be honest. It's definitely the album I went back to the most. And that the one throughout the year that I was most obsessed with by far, I'm talking about off Nuclear Blast Records, August 2nd, Carnifex's World War X. This is the first album that crosses both Aaron and I's list. And holy fucking shit, man. Like, what a hitter. I didn't see this coming. Like, they dropped those first few singles, you know. The one with Elisa White Gloves, No Light Shall Save Us, and then the World War X. But then you get into it, and then you hear Visions of the End, and All Roads Lead to Hell, and Brushed by the Wings of Demons, and Hail Hellfire, and Eyes of the Executioner, and it is unfucking believable. It's so... This is another thing. I forgot to say this about Savages. One thing Savages and Carnifex have in common, very gallopy.
Yeah.
Very
especially
gallopy.
On this album.
Mm-hmm. Which I love. That's something I absolutely love. This album, this album, I can't remember what song it's on. It's either Eyes of the Executioner or This Infernal Darkness. Has my favorite lyric of the year, where he's like, "Words become blades as they slip through the flesh of my throat." That is one of the most brutal fucking lines I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. That's cool.
It's so the lyrics on this album are insane, dude. And yeah, like it 9 tracks, 35 minutes. It's short.
Yeah.
So I just devour it like 8 times a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just so fucking addicting, so hard, so headbanging, so just everything. And this is another band that like I was not very familiar with before this record, and it floored me to the point where now I want all of their records and want to see them live. And again, I have seen them before I knew who they were really back in the day.
Yeah.
But man, it's just, it is an outstanding album. I absolutely fucking love it. I listened to it probably more than anything else this year, honestly.
Oh yeah.
In terms of albums that came out this year.
Yeah. I feel like the singles off of it didn't really hold a candle to what the album actually is.
No. 100% agree. 100% agree that the singles are probably, not that there are any, but they are probably the weakest tracks on the album. Not that there are any weak tracks.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the rest of the album's a lot better.
Yeah. And that was the thing that kind of threw me off about it at first. And honestly, when this came out, I mean, I've been following this band for a long time. More so kind of dropped off them on the last record just because, I don't know, for one reason or another, I felt like the last one was a step in the, I guess, like in the same kind of similar direction. But it also, like, I don't know, I wasn't really as like blown away by it. So going into this one, I was like, it's, I'm a fan of Carnifex, but I'm also not like, foolishly, I'm not like going out of my way to kind of like listen to it or whatever. So I kind of just like, and this is kind of something we were talking about, I kind of just like wanted to see what the reception of it was. I wanted to see what what people were saying about it. I wanted to see if it kind of lasted over the hype, and as far, and to me, like, mostly just going off like the singles and stuff, that was kind of threw me off a little bit. And I feel
what
like
threw you off?
More, I guess, because this one less than the last ones. It's very there's definitely a lot more black metal to it, but it's also which didn't really,
musically it threw you off.
Yeah,
okay.
It wasn't really anything in particular. It was just, it kind of like hit me weird when I first heard it couple times. But it wasn't.
It is black. It does have black metal element in it for sure, and you hear that a little bit on the thing that they released before this one. That little "Bury Me in Blasphemy" they did.
Yeah.
It's like, what is it, 2-3 track thing? Yeah. You hear that starting there. Yeah. I don't know the album before that, but yeah.
I'll say that that song by itself, I was like, if this, because I love that song.
Me too.
Like I feel like that could have fit on this.
Yep, me too.
And I was like, if this is what we're looking towards for this next one, I was like, this is going to be something pretty crazy, and it's turned out to, honestly.
Yep.
I feel like the only other thing I can say as far as just my initial response to it was there's a lot of some of the songs kind of go in a way that you wouldn't really expect as far as like what the guitars are doing and like what the song is doing. Like there's a lot more melody, and there's a little bit more like I don't know, like I won't say like happy sounding stuff, but more like
upbeat sort of.
Yeah, if that makes sense. You know what I'm talking about? Like
maybe lighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas opposed to the last album, it was pretty much, kind of just like your straightforward stuff. So it was an interesting listen. I think that's what's got me coming back to it is like, I mean, Eyes the Executioner and Brushed by the Wings of Demons, two of my favorite songs. Like easily.
Those titles are just...
Oh man. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it's cool because for the longest time, especially on the last couple albums, I've really wanted them to do more of the black metal sound.
Yeah.
And I feel like they did more than nail it on this one.
Yeah.
Like just some of the string stuff that's over top of everything, the way, especially the first song, it's obviously it's a single or whatever, but just the way that it, it's kind of the same way that I think Bury Me in Blasphemy was. I think it was either on the last album or it was a single.
It was like the EP single in between.
Yeah.
It might have had another track with it. I don't know. I'm probably wrong. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that was kind of the point where I was like, you start hearing a little bit more of that kind of coming over as opposed to just being like in the background for like half a second or
definitely.
So that was really cool to see them kind of expand on that, the way that I could kind of see them going, in the last like 3, I'd say, kind of ever since Die Without Hope, I think. So yeah, it's
absolutely one of my fucking favorites of the year. Like, unbelievable.
Kind of a sleeper at the first part of the year, honestly.
Yeah. Were you surprised at how much I gravitated towards it?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Just because you weren't into them before.
Yeah.
And like this was the one that for some reason I wasn't
on
super sold on. Yeah. Mostly just because I felt like I don't know. I guess I don't really want to say that because it's really disgenuine towards their sound, but I'll say like, I feel like going into it, I sort of wrote it off in a way that made me sort of kind of view it as like I feel like I've almost heard a lot of what they're capable of.
Okay. And
it didn't really get, because I mean they've been around for quite a while, and
they've released a lot.
Yeah, and so to me, I felt like maybe that was kind of what did it. I don't know, but it's definitely not the case now. Like they're still,
Yeah, they really did something different on this one.
Yeah,
it's outstanding. So Carnifex takes both of our number 4 spot on our Filthy 15 list this year.
Yeah.
Ooh, it was a banger. Would you like to introduce number 3?
As long as we're on the same, as long as we're talking about the same band.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I'm sorry. That was really anticlimactic. But yeah. I will talk about the next one.
The next hitter of hitters,
which we have mentioned before.
Oh yeah.
We have talked about before.
Lots. I think we did a review on this album.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
So maybe there's a lot, but I feel like there's a lot we could also add to it because I feel like both of us had way more time with it.
Yeah.
This is one that both of us have, like I said, spent a good amount of time with. We've seen them live finally as the
proper lineup.
The way it's meant to be as the current lineup as it is right now.
And this album came out July 26th, so we've had a long time, half a year with it now.
Oh wow, yeah, that's been out for way longer than I thought.
Yep.
Talking about Human Target from Die Hard is Murder. I feel like it's the band as like best they've ever been, honestly.
Wow, really? It's your favorite album?
And in terms of
in
terms of the current sound and the current lineup, yeah.
Do you think I'm not saying is it your favorite album, but do you think it's the best album they've ever done? Not your favorite, but do you think like musically and like sound wise and everything that they're going for, like do you think it's probably the best thing that they've done?
Man. I'll say yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's because I feel like the last couple have had well, I don't know, like what's your views on this since you asked? How do you feel about it?
I think I like Hate and Holy War still more, but this is definitely my favorite thing they've released since Holy War. Definitely.
That's fair. I'll give that to you.
By far.
Yeah.
This album, I really think, I mean, it's huge. I cannot believe for an album that sounds like this. I can't believe how big it's gotten.
Yeah.
They really like they stick to the sound that we know from them at this point while expanding on it. The lyrical content on this one is excellent. Like some of the stuff they go into, the points, the things that they're trying to talk about, outstanding. The song, I'd say like the song composition, the way they moved, much like the Convalescence album, the way the songs move is fucking. You don't always see where it's going, and it's totally addicting.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's completely addicting. Like you constantly just want to know where it's going next, and then you want more of it.
Mm.
Man,
yeah. One of my favorite parts of this, and it's, I feel like I've said this about a lot of them, but man, like there are certain moments on it that just like it makes you like grit your teeth, kind of.
Yeah.
It's that kind of aggressive, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, and it's mostly I feel like it's the way that the guitars sound over everything, and it's the way that the vocals are. Because there's, I mean, like I feel Welcome Oblivion stands out to me a lot.
Absolutely one of my favorite tracks on the album.
Voyeurs into Death is,
Yep.
I mean, just the way it starts with that big like chant with that,
Yeah.
and the way it ends the same way too.
And like you said, we did finally get to see him live. Some of these songs translate on are so like it's hard to say a song that already sounds like this is heavier live, yet in certain cases like Make America Hate Again and Death Squad Anthem and New Gods, which is one of my favorite tracks already on the album.
Yeah.
Live it had a whole new element to it. Like it was amazing.
I had chills for that, like when they open with that, and then just
that is such a fucking hitter, dude. God damn.
And I feel like I mean, so let's see. Well, I haven't really.
It's another 10-track, 40-minute album.
Well, I was gonna say it's another album that's on this list that is only added more after seeing the band live on the tour cycle.
Yeah.
For it, whether or not it's in like direct promotion of it, or just being a tour that they're on while it, when it first came out.
Right.
I'll say it definitely makes me way excited to see the headlining tour that they're doing next year.
Yeah.
With Fit for an Autopsy.
Yep.
Which is
two hardest, like it's insane. That's an insane.
Yeah, man. But yeah, just I mean, like this is an album that I put on when I just need something to just somebody just yelling at me, like something to just kind of like light that fire. You know what I mean? Like there's something about the way that like CJ just like his vocals and just the way that just I don't know, the lyrics are all written with the music and stuff, and just how they all like it just complements each other. That's just I don't know. It's
his delivery on this album is insane. Yeah. Absolutely. And keep in mind too, when we saw him, he had a little cold and he still sounded outstanding.
It made it almost even better, honestly. I mean, set aside the fact that like, you know, it was you tell he was struggling or whatever, but like, dude, you know.
Sounded incredible.
And I guess honestly looking back at it now that so we can kind of talk about it, because I feel like Dear Desolation was because it was between Holy War and the new album. Came out in 2017.
Yeah.
And I really, really like this record. I feel like what they did on the one before it, on Dear Desolation, was like this. It makes so much more sense when you see where they took it.
Yeah.
You know, because I feel like there was a lot of like down, you know, kind of like black metal stuff to this one. There's a lot of like, you know, kind of somber stuff. Whereas this one is straightforward, just angry, just pissed. Like I would almost say, and maybe it's giving it too much credit, but I would say that it is on the same vibe and the same feel as Hate when it came out.
Yeah.
Like it's the new, like it's this era's Hate, I guess.
I could see that.
You know, just in the way that, I don't know, it just makes me feel, I guess. Like those two albums side by side is, you know, Hate and Holy War, I agree, are my two favorites from them. But, I mean, Human Target is everything that they're capable of and, like, tenfold. So
there you go. That's the perfect way to say that. Absolutely. I cannot top that right there. That was perfect. Fuck yeah. So, Thy Art Is Murder, Human Target, Nuclear Blast Records is our number 3 on our Filthy 15.
Boy.
And now, this is it. We're on to the final 2.
Yep.
This is insane.
Yeah.
This is insane. And this next one we have not had much time with.
Nope.
Not at all.
I've had probably less time with it than you, but I have still heard it multiple times.
Came out on Metal Blade Records on November 29th. Who is it, Aaron?
Boys in Cattle Decapitation with Death Atlas.
Oh my God.
And what can we say about it that hasn't already been said?
I don't know, because I don't know what the fuck other people is.
Well, I guess so a lot then. All right.
Oh my God.
Man, like
it's I almost feel underqualified to even be talking about
honestly,
it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because it's so complex. It is such an impressive piece of work.
Yeah.
Like it, you know, from top, it is a piece, first of all.
Yeah.
You really need to listen to this album from top to bottom. And it is like, it is one of the few albums that I really got into this year that can genuinely give me some crazy chills just because of how haunting some of it is. How fucking evil. Like, this album sounds almost more than any other like a choir of fucking demons being composed by Beelzebub. Like, it's just so fucking evil sounding, and the parts where I don't even know what to call those aren't he's not singing like during the, I guess you could say, clean vocal parts. It's sort of singing, but it's not a normal human voice. It is this shrill, terrifying, like demonic, witchy, almost like sound that just is. It's awesome. Like, every time I hear it, I want more of it. But at the same time, it like terrifies me, and I love it so much.
Yeah, I think the thing that really did it for me, especially the first time listening to it, and kind of in vein with what you were saying, it's the sections of it where there's the more so like the little mini, like, minute-long interludes that are in it. Specifically The Great Dying and The Great Dying 2, and also The Unerasable Past. And even like the opening track, man. Like, it really, you know, I mean, you hit
Anthropogenic.
Yeah.
And Transmission.
Yeah, like it really, when
The tone that it sets. is
yeah,
just chilling.
talking about how just like foreshadowing stuff and like stuff that like is current, and that's the other thing that we're kind of going back to.
Yeah, this is a band that is. Aren't they all vegan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if they all are, but I know that that's
their thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they they talk a lot about climate change
Yeah.
and all kinds of crazy stuff like God, what's the fucking word I'm looking? End of the world kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's heavy. Like, this is an album that I am absolutely in love with, but every single time I sit down and listen to it top to bottom, I don't feel good afterwards. I feel like depressed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm so in love with the music is so, it's weird. First of all, what are they? Like, what category are they in? Are they death metal?
They're So the genre I have here is death grind, which is like death metal and grindcore.
Okay.
Which I
I'm
guess
good with that.
more so I would say they started off as way more of a grind band.
Okay.
And over the last, I'd say 4 albums, they've really turned into more of a like what this sound is. You know what I mean?
So in this, I mean, it's weird to describe a grindcore death metal band as having released something that sounds fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a beautiful, giant monolith of an album. Like, it really is. The cover art is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, everything about it is just so.
And I feel like because the last album came out in 2015, and I feel like there's a lot of time in between that where, I mean, in the last like 4 years, there's been so many changes that have happened in extreme music, specifically this style. And to me, it's really cool to hear a band that's been around this long and has formed their style so much around, making really, aggressive music that you can feel and that you can, that really just kind of makes you, just feel like you're listening to what is the end of the world. You know?
Dude.
And I remember hearing
you just hit it.
Yeah. It's the
Holy shit.
The second I heard the Unerasable Past and then eventually Death Atlas, that short film that they made.
Yeah.
For one, I was shocked because I didn't feel like I was listening to the same band that I knew, like from the last album. But also how much they put into, I guess like the visual aspect of everything. You're going through this crazy like ash world underground place where everything is just like melted and just like and it just kind of eventually like the end of it just leaves you like just kind of hollow, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
like,
I do.
Yeah, so like the whole from the first track to the last one really leads you to this like, well, you're fucked.
We're fucked.
Yeah, like
we fucked her, bud.
Yeah.
No going back.
But it's how, and it's like it's talking about things that are like recent of like as of like 2 years ago or like last year even.
Yeah.
Just I mean
how current it is kind of also adds to how chilling it is.
Yeah.
Like, it is no doubt a masterpiece. No doubt a masterpiece. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I haven't heard anything quite like it, and especially I don't know ever. I don't know if ever. Like this is a whole different thing, and it deserves every bit of accolade that it seems to be getting.
Yeah.
Like it really is taken off. And to hear a band like this do a 10-minute long song that never gets anything but ruthless.
Yeah.
It never slows down. It never lets up. It's constantly heavy for the whole 10 minutes. It's unbelievable. I've never heard anything like that.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden we're like acting like Iron Maiden now. Like what is going on here?
Yeah. Well, and I didn't know if anybody posted these, but so I mean, I guess just the Great Dying it's one of the instrumentals, and I mean, I guess just a snippet of it. It says approximately half of all now living plants and animal species in the world densely biodiverse regions are risking extinction due to global warming, climate change, and then kind of goes on, kind of keeping with that same topic. And the last part of it, behind this like really eerie kind of sounding stuff, so the recent unparalleled temperatures in the Arctic, as well as the data showing abnormal rise in upper atmosphere methane levels, converge to give the impression that the near future of the entire human race is at stake. And then it goes into the one day closer to the end of the world.
Yeah.
And just like, but it's the way that it leaves off on that last part, and it's just like empty. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know.
Like,
Yeah. So good. So good. Dude.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah. This is an album that, like we said, I mean, we've had what 27 days with it, like something like that. So we need a little more time. But
Yeah. I'm really curious to see how this, like, where I don't know, I guess just where this takes them, and what this means for bands that like for this, I guess, for extreme music, really.
yeah.
Because we haven't really seen anything like this that sounds quite like this, at least that I know of, that I can match up. I mean, I'm sure there is probably, but as far as like what's come out as of like recently that's had this, you know, for this style of music, is just, you know, I feel like it really,
in this genre, I've never heard anything like it.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And it's kind of a bummer that, you know, they have such a history with being, you know, the extreme band that they are, because I really feel like if you can kind of get past, you know, the wild, like, you know, vocals and the crazy like speed of everything, because it's fast. Like it's
fast as fuck.
Yeah, there's a lot of it that's like that's possible. Like,
yeah,
you know, but also, you know, I feel like the average person that listens to it and really try, like, if you really try to take something from it, you'll, you know, you really appreciate it and be surprised about it. I just feel like it's kind of a shame that it's so upfront and honest that it's almost like hard to like sell anybody on that isn't already familiar with it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
For being as important of a message and as important of a statement as they're making, you know.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I do think that it's going to be interesting.
Just a lot you can say about it, really.
There is a lot you can say. And I think you're right. I think it is going to be interesting to see ultimately what happens with this album in the long run, because I think it is an important album. Like we said, we've had it for like 26 days. It made it to number 2 on our list that quick.
Yeah.
It's that crazy. Like, it's nothing else like it that I've heard.
Yeah.
Like, it really absolutely floored me. I think Clint, it was number 1. It was number 1 on his, for Christ's sake. So, and he did that list in way less time. Like, he had less time with it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's a masterpiece.
Have you heard the Anthropocene Extinction?
No, not
the
yet.
album before?
No.
You gotta, like, if you want a real perspective on how different this album is in comparison, the Monolith of Inhumanity and the Anthropocene Extinction are two that I feel like, for one, you would not only be really into, but you would also see where they were headed with the next one, which is so interesting to me. Finding out now it was in 2015, because the last album, or the last song on it, it's called Pacific Grim. It's kind of like, it's that same like style to it, but it's less like depressive, I guess, in a way. Like, it's a little more like both these albums are a bit more like up tempo. There's a lot more songs that are like, you know, bangers, I guess, if you could say, for one reason or another. I mean, it's all very centered around, you know, the environment kind of stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, you could really kind of see like just the growth between the last 2 albums to this new one is just, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's no doubt it deserves where it is on our list, and it's. I got a lot more on it. You know what I mean? We got a lot deeper to go with this one. We're gonna do a review of it. This is this is Like if you were to call it a death metal album, I would say it's one of the best in the last 15 years easily. But if it's not a death metal album, then, and I don't think it is really, when you listen to it.
I mean, it has its moments, but it's
Definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's some. Oh man, it's really in a league of its own right now.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that much. So number 2, that was it, ladies and gentlemen. Cattle Decapitation, my friends. The Death Atlas album, which came out November 29th on Metal Blade Records. Which means
There's only one left, man.
there can only be one.
And I remember being at odds about it because I was so into Fit for an Autopsy.
Yeah, you see. That's the thing is, we were both between this one. I was between this one and Carnifex. You were between this one and Fit for an Autopsy.
Yeah. And we decided on various reasons that this one is the king.
This one. And to be, a lot of times, at least for me personally, when I'm looking at these lists, it's all just gut.
Yeah.
What makes me feel good? What makes me feel like the best? This one was one of the first times where I kind of took in other reasons, like considering the magnitude of the situation, the magnitude of the band, the previous most recent releases in comparison to their, what is considered their great stuff from the old days, like every band. Taking into account all of these things, the whole metal environment in general right now, the last 2 years in heavy metal have been unbelievable. Taking into account everything, we felt like the number 1 spot there's only one choice.
And I guess to kind of preface this further, just the overall history of this band over the last decade.
Yeah.
Specifically
the last decade, leading up to this release.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, as much a household name as like Metallica.
Yep. But I would say have gone through more turmoil than Metallica ever did, at least at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When you really look at the history.
Yeah.
And so for them to have gone through all that, most of that in the last 10 years, and to release something on this magnitude that's this good now, that's why we had to give it to them. That's why we had to give it to fucking Slipknot.
Yep.
We are not your kind.
We are not your kind, man.
We are not your kind. August 9th, Roadrunner Records. Our number 1 has to be Slipknot. And what's crazy to me is I'm not seeing it on any other lists. I'm not seeing it. I thought this would be...
It's because they're wrong. They're wrong. They're all wrong.
Fucking morons, bro.
No.
That's wrong.
No, go on.
No, it is crazy to me. This, to me, in a lot of ways, kind of felt like the obvious pick. Like we said earlier, none of the real old guard, this is the oldest of the old guard, pretty much, on this list.
Yeah,
I mean,
I really, honestly, looking at it, yeah,
I don't know.
And that was what I was kind of reaching for.
Jasta's been going at least the same amount of time, so you could say that too. But I mean, shit, man, like this.
Dude, when they announced this and when they put out the first single off of it.
Yeah, you need to talk here because Slipknot's your favorite band.
Yeah, I'm not even.
So you have a relationship with how it all rolls out. The new masks, the new sounds, the new everything.
Dude, so and we both remember, and I'm sure the world does as well. If you were paying attention, October 31st of last year.
Yep.
They put out All Out Life.
Yep.
Out of absolutely nowhere.
Halloween surprise.
Yep. Put out a video for it. There was a single. And it wasn't included on the record. Only the Japanese version.
But as a bonus track.
Yeah. And
awesome video too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was great. And then nothing until
Radio Silence.
August.
Almost a year.
Yeah. And
well, no, because that's when it came out.
Yeah.
So they were doing singles.
Yeah. So it says.
What was the other single?
Soy.
Soy first.
Yep. Which honestly is like I mean that might be one, like it's up there with like my favorite song of the year.
Oh, wow. We don't even do that.
Yeah, I know.
Shit, Aaron.
So
You're giving us more work.
well, okay,
Unsainted, too.
Oh yeah. So I guess I'll go back to talking about it. Yeah, man, like there's something about what happens when this band starts dropping hints about new records
Yep.
that
They're a cultural
it
thing.
shakes the world, honestly. And I mean, you know, this album is really no different, but it's also, I feel like it's an album for the fans more than anything, really. And
It does kind of feel like
it's
that.
a bit more of a return to form because it's the first album that I feel like they took elements from everything that they've done up to this point and modernized it, without sort of, you know, I mean, it's a pretty sad record.
I
But
agree. Oh, go on, sorry.
but it also doesn't have those moments like, you know, like the last album did, where it was very, I mean, you know, they're a completely different place, but it was also, you know, there wasn't your snuff, there wasn't your you know, your ballads on it, there wasn't your, you know, it was a very much like, you know, upfront, aggressive, you know, but also very just like kind of sad towards the end of it, really.
Yeah.
Like it kind of, you know, Soulway's probably the most aggressive song on it, and next to probably Birth of the Cruel, which I have played so many times over the
Red
last
Flag.
Yeah, that one too. Yeah. So I mean, we did a review on it, talked about it, made so many posts about it. Like, I just and as a fan and as somebody who's listened to this band for so long, and I feel like I've said it on, you know, but I'll say it again, and I'll say it to the ends of the earth. The fact that, you know, kind of like what we were saying, like so much has happened and they're still able to put something out after all this time as a 9-piece band from Iowa with three new members is just,
That
I mean,
sounds so fucking heavy and aggressive, and I agree. I do kind of feel like it's for the fans, but also that's not to say it's fan service.
Oh, no.
Because it's they take a lot of chances.
Yeah.
There's a lot of risky moves on this one that I think all pay off.
Yeah.
They, you know, spiders, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's still one of my all-time, like, that's so...
It's such a weird song, but everyone fucking loves it.
Yeah.
And to me, it sounds like it should be in a fucking Nightmare Before Christmas movie. Like,
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love it. But it's so weird. And there's a lot of that on this album. And there's also a lot of relentlessness. A song like Red Flag and like Neo Forte. Like Red Flag has no clean singing.
Yeah.
Neo Forte only has like a line. Like there's a lot of just some of the heaviest stuff they've ever done on here.
Yeah.
And as a fan, but as a fan who a more recent fan than you, I was always into Volume 3 when it came out.
Yeah.
But for a long time that was the only Slipknot album I had. And it wasn't until recently where I got into the other ones. And I can now I have the perspective of all of it, and it's like, yeah, like for them to come out with something that hits this hard, connects this well, like, and is just like that heavy.
Yeah.
Like that's just part of the craziest part is that they're a band on, usually a band this big doesn't get heavier again. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, they're on the same level as Metallica. Look at Metallica. They're never getting heavier again.
Yeah.
Ever.
And there's moments of it that are like musically heavy, like in a metal sense, but there's also a lot of feeling and a lot of
weight.
Yeah, like specifically Elias' Funeral.
Yeah.
That one and My Pain, that's a little more of an interlude, I guess. And I don't know, we talked about that one a little bit. And even like, you know, more so like the songs I wasn't too crazy about, I find like getting stuck in my head all the time.
Yep.
Specifically Critical Darling. I was not a big fan of that one when it first came out, but then I just started listening to it and just it's so catchy. If nothing else, like I could see that as more of like a single, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's just really like well written, I guess, you know. But yeah, I just, man, I don't know. I don't know what else to talk about, I guess, on it. Other than the fact that it just, I don't know.
It kicks, man.
Yeah.
It's a banger. I love cranking it. I keep going back to it. I've been going back to it ever since it came out. And I even the singles, like I fucking was blasting them constantly before the album came out.
Oh man. Birth of the Cruel.
Yeah.
I play that song like that song cannot get loud enough.
No, it
for
can't.
me.
No, yep, I agree with that.
Like that is one of those and Unsated too. I like, and a lot of honestly a lot of the songs that they dropped as singles kind of had to grow on me a little bit at first.
Me too.
And then yeah.
But then once the hook is in,
yeah,
it's in.
Yeah.
A fucking meat hook. God damn, dude, such a crazy fucking year, man.
Yeah.
Such a great album for a band from a band on that scale. So like, just and to see some of those songs live was holy shit.
Yeah.
Neil Forte live is unreal.
Yeah. I think Solway
is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my god, dude. Such a.
I remember thinking, and I think I texted this to either you or Ben. We were talking about it because Mike is he's like same as me. I remember cause we were talking about it, and I was like, man, I think Paul, like this, you could hear him on this album. Like, and I feel like if, I just feel like he would dig the fuck out of this album to me.
Yeah.
And I remember saying that, honestly. So the fact that I still feel that way is, it's awesome.
It is a magnum opus of an album. And that's why I think it deserves the top spot, Yeah.
9-piece band from nowhere, Iowa, releasing their 6th album, almost 30 years into their career.
And for it to sound like, and for them to be as big as they are, and for it to sound like this, it makes me go, see, the biggest metal band in the world just got heavier.
Yeah.
What's everybody else gonna do now?
Yeah.
That's the way. Like this is the way. Like that is the the move. And it's. Yeah, it's Jamie Joss has been saying it on the podcast forever. Like everybody should just release just the hardest album they've ever released. Yeah, all right, we're waiting for you. Hey, pre 2020.
Yeah,
let's do this. But it's I can't believe how much I enjoyed the album, considering I just wasn't that big. I was a big fan by that point, but not crazy. But this album kind of flipped that switch. I was totally caught in the wave, taking being waiting for the tracks to be released and like wanting to see what the new masks were gonna look like and like all that stuff. Like it was all exciting for me.
The thing that kind of sticks with me when I think about it is I remember like sitting down with it the first time and listening to it all the way through and feeling like it kind of broke me a little bit towards the end of it because of just like the overall feel of it and the way it's very like it's very personal, but it's also very relatable in a sense.
Yeah.
And like I think more towards like Liar's Funeral specifically. That's a really like that. I go back to that one all the time, but from like My Pain to like Solway towards the end of it, man, like I remember hearing it and just like it sounds weird saying it, but like there, there's certain songs, like there's certain things that you hear that you just like like you just weep.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like, and that was one of those moments, man, where I was like, I was like, I don't know. Like, that's just the only way I can describe it. Like, just, I don't know, just the way that it hit me and, like, just how it all ends and stuff is just, I don't know. Like, that was how I could tell. Like, man, this is,
great fucking record. Another level.
Because it's just, I mean, it's, like I said, it's not a very, like, it doesn't make you feel good towards the end of it. It's not Cattle. Like, it's not going to make you want to, like, die.
No, yeah. But it doesn't leave you feeling hollow and empty about the earth.
Yeah. But it also kind of, it just, I don't know, just makes you
Why the fuck are we into this stuff? What the fuck is wrong with us? But we love it.
Yeah.
We can't help it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's amazing. It really is just the best art.
Because it's the only thing that I've ever come across in my life that like just can put me somewhere else when I need to be.
Yes. It gets you where you need to be.
Yeah, and that is really what kind of comes back to this list, is that all of these on here at one point or another, like, either push me through something or, like, you know, just was the outlet for me to just, you know, feel pissed when I need to, or feel, you know, just get something out or whatever, you know, and it always comes back to that. And even after so many years of being into it, like, it's still cool that that's what it's about to me, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, after all these years, we're still sitting here doing a list like this, and it's
Yeah.
still like, we're still finding stuff that does it. New stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like, half of the bands on my list, those were the first albums I'd heard from them. You know what I mean? Like, it's insane. So, it's, oh my God. So crazy, dude. Such a year it has been. Wow. Such a great year for metal. Here, and you know what? No signs of slowing.
Oh, yeah.
None.
Yeah.
That is for fucking sure. So here's my question to you. Now that we have revealed our Filthy 15 of 2019, what's your most anticipated album for 2020? It's a toughie. We got, let's start running down.
Honestly, I got to look that up because I've been so...
The only one, I mean, we know we got new Devil Driver, new Dahlia, possibly new Lamb of God.
I'll say right now, just because of what, like, where they've gone since the last one and how much they've picked up, and even, like, just stylistically, I'm just curious to see what they're gonna do since the last album did so well. I'll say probably Black Dahlia.
Yeah,
honestly, because I like Nightbringers a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I still feel like there was points of it where, like, you could, because I mean they're fresh off of, you know, getting a couple new members, I think, guitar player and stuff, and that changed the sound drastically.
Yeah.
You know, whether you know from, I mean, what was the one? It was Abysmal, right? That was the one before Nightbringers.
Oh yeah.
And so that was the last one. I think that was the last one with Ryan Knight. And so I feel like they just kind of started to hit their stride with Nightbringers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like I'm really excited to hear.
Very, yeah.
You know, just all the changes and stuff. And
fucking love Nightbringers.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for that. I don't know. I'm really interested to hear what this Devil Driver double album does.
That's gonna be cool.
I'm really interested to hear that, and I think the world now is waiting for the next Lamb of God album. At this point, I don't think I'm alone in that one.
That too, yeah, definitely.
I think we all want to know what they're gonna do. There's been so much change within that band since the last album. It's insane. They've gone through a lot.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
I'll even say, looking at it now, and mostly just because the last couple of songs that they put out have been actually surprisingly good. The Suicide Silence, Become the Hunter.
Oh, they got a new one coming?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just, I mean, that band just fascinates me. Just because,
Fair
like,
enough.
I mean, there's so much that just over the span of their career, that is kind of just unlike anybody else's. Like, they, you know, I mean, you ask anybody as far as, like, you know, who, like, the leader of, like, I guess, like, deathcore, like, the, you know, I guess, like, the ones that kind of brought it up, and they're definitely one of them. And to see such a like, insane backlash from the last album, and from them to just kind of be like, all right, all right, I get it. Like, and even I feel like even they were kind of like, yeah, it was, it wasn't really that good or whatever. But I mean, even like, it's I feel like if nothing else, especially seeing the the re-release stuff that I was talking about earlier, and they put out a live one that was pretty solid. I don't know. It's cool to kind of see them sort of go back to kind of the sound that was, I don't know, it just made sense for them, I guess.
Hell yeah.
They weren't really like trying to take such a crazy left turn with everything just because they could, I guess, But also, I mean, I guess kind of looking at this, the wiki for next year, because I couldn't even tell you one other than the ones we talked about. I guess, Hatebreed.
Oh, shit. Yeah,
definitely up there.
Oh, my God. Talk about that all night.
Yeah. New Lamb of God, obviously.
But I heard even potential new AC/DC, new Iron Maiden from the old guard.
Yeah.
New Megadeth, maybe.
That's on here, yeah.
Yeah.
Deep Purple, looks like.
Ooh.
Maybe we're kind of new one, which would be cool.
What?
That's
crazy.
I don't remember the last time they released any, like,
anything new.
Original, yeah. I guess Creators on here, so you might see something new from them.
Interesting.
Iron Maiden's on here.
Yeah.
Mastodon.
Nice. 2020 is a big. Oh, Ozzy.
Yeah. We're still.
Ozzy's in January.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, got a new Ozzy record coming, bro. I'm excited. I'm excited for a lot next year. That's for damn sure. It's gonna be a big year for metal, I think. And the last two have been killers. Absolute killer.
I just want to say that I guess the last thing I want to say about Slipknot that hasn't already been said is I'm kind of overwhelmed by the fact that we are ending not only the decade but also the year with them putting out our favorite record of the year.
Right.
And I would rival one of the best of the decade, to be honest with you. I don't know where it falls in that gigantic list, but I would definitely, like, it's in there for me.
Yeah. I don't know where it falls, but that's definitely a contender.
Yeah.
Without question. Like, it is. Yeah. What's fucked up is there's a lot of albums that's come out the last 2 years that are contenders for the whole decade.
Yeah, man.
It's crazy.
Like, even the Grey Chapter came out 2014.
Yeah.
And that was the only two records they put out this decade. Mm-hmm. The others were live records.
Yeah, so that one, no question from them. Yeah, absolutely. Man, oh man. All right. Well, we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
That's it. We did our Filthy 15 to 2019. This is probably gonna be the last episode, the last normal episode of the year. This is it.
Yeah.
This is the last one we got scheduled, at least, and then we come back strong next year with our album of the decade list.
Yep.
But
other than some reviews and stuff.
Yeah, this will be the last time you hear from us like this in the decade, in the year 2019.
Wow.
Thank you all so much for taking a ride with us and getting lost with us all this whole year. Oh my God. Anyone that's fucking listened to us, we are not worthy.
I mean, anybody that's listened, make comments, watched any of them, sat through the hours upon hours of stuff we posted to, all the milestones we've hit as far as like guests this year.
Yeah, shout out
having actual guests.
Yeah.
Like
shout out to all your band, Balgraith and Recorruptor. Fucking love you guys. Clint, my God, you're a beast. Like all of them. Shout out to all the bands too that like reached back out to us after we did a review, like Savages and Convalescence. And we had a lot of crazy stuff happen that for just a couple of guys sitting in the basement is pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah, man.
So
Dean Del Rey
gave us a shout. Yeah, we got quite a few shout outs.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucking insane. Insane. Shit that blows my mind.
We hit 100 videos this year.
What?
I believe, haven't we?
Oh, episode 100. Yeah. I was like, we put out 100 videos?
No. Yeah, 100. Yep, hit the 100 mark.
Yep, we hit the 100 mark. Shit, this is 112.
Yeah.
So we're already well on our way to 150. God damn.
I don't know. You did a lot more video stuff.
And more's coming.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot more. And hopefully soon the episodes will be on video.
Yeah.
So that actually should be.
I feel like that's a good goal for next year.
Yeah, definitely.
Next year.
We're going to make that happen.
Yeah. As it stands right now, we got 86 subscribers on YouTube. So
I love every single one of you.
To you 86. Yes.
Every single one of you that's not a bot. Hopefully we don't have too many bots.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know who's looking at this, but
Yeah. We have no idea.
yeah.
So we have no idea. So we just thank you all. We love you all so much. And we hope you all are having a wonderful holiday and continue to have a wonderful holiday through the new year and all the above. Here, let's one more shot for the decade of Lost in the Dark podcast.
Also to our album of the year. Not Your Kind.
Yes, to We Are Not Your Kind. Absolutely. Shout out. The Blood of the Gods. Outstanding. All right.
Wow. All right.
God, I can't, that's literally, I think we covered everything. I think we did good.
There is
Filthy 15.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's shout out to, also, we forgot to mention that Mark Morton is coming out with a 5-song EP in January also.
Yeah. That's really cool.
It's, again, probably not going to be metal, but I'm really looking forward to it after Anesthetic. That was one of our honorable mentions.
Yeah. He's one of my favorite guitar players ever. So.
Absolutely. All right, so let's wrap this fucker up. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Lost in the Dark podcast, our Filthy 15 of 2019 top albums of the year. Thank you, God, from the bottom of our hearts. We can't thank you enough. Thank you. So,
sincerely, yeah.
That's going to be it for us for the year, and we will be back strong again next year. Stay safe, stay hard, let's go through the bands. Remain Savage, Stay Die Hard, Horns Up Hate Crew, like Pulse of the Maggots, motherfuckers, all of them, every single one of them. Horns up to all of you. Horns in the sky, everyone. Bang your fucking heads. We love you all to death. Good night.